Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
Welcome to the Nick Vertucci Show. I'm very excited. We are in the presence of greatness. Mr. Nick Vertucci.
Wow. Gosh, finally she got something right. Welcome to the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci with Valerie Brill and Little Rip, Ryan Feldman. Let's go. Well, look at who we have here.
We have been waiting a long time for you.
I thought I would never get an invite.
What do you mean? You're our number one. You are a number one guest.
Oh.
Mother love you very much.
Even before Garrett?
You know what? I think that our comments on YouTube and Twitter, everyone's asking for you. You're a big deal. Number one big shoot. I mean, you own...
Is that your Russian accent?
This is Polish.
She's
Could
Polish.
be Russian,
They border
you know?
Russia.
We're good. Russia took us over a few times, so you know.
Yeah.
But we're very excited to have you. You're one of the owners of Hustler Casino Live, one of the biggest poker TV show in the world. I'm just going to say it. It's true.
No, that's true.
And a lot of that is because of you, your perseverance, your struggles with Live at the Bike, and how that led to you leaving, which led to this. So I think we're all very curious about who you are and what led to this amazing show. So let's backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk about you being on Live at the Bike. How did you become an owner, and how did you get involved with Live at the Bike?
Well, I moved out to LA because I worked at ESPN, and I transferred out to the LA studio. So I moved out here. I started playing more poker. I eventually got involved with their show. I came across it just playing at the bike. You know, I played on their show a couple times.
And you were hosting games, weren't you?
Yeah. So first I played a couple times, and then eventually I asked them, you know, back then they weren't that big of a deal. They were, you know, like 5-5 games and 5-10 games. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. That's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I went to college for communications, broadcasting. That's what my degree is in. And when I got out of college, I tried to go into that sports media route. And eventually it led to me working at ESPN in production as a researcher. So not on air, but working with on air people. So I didn't quite end up at that, but I, you know, got to work at ESPN, which is still a dream, right? So when I moved to LA, and then I got more into poker. I had been into poker, you know, playing over the years, and I got more into it living in LA because the casinos were closer to me. And I had some friends from the East Coast who I knew through poker that moved out to LA, and we got a house together, and I lived with all these poker players all of a sudden. And so now I'm like in that lifestyle, and I'm the one working, and they're the ones all playing. So I got a little jealous of them being able to play all the time. And then when I started playing a couple times in Live at the Bike, I'm like, wow, this would be cool to commentate for them. So one time I just offered them, I was like, hey, if you ever need a commentator, I would love to do it. You know, I think I'd be good at it. So I did it a couple times, and eventually I decided to leave ESPN because of a bunch of different reasons, but I just wasn't excited about it anymore. I got more corporate. I also was just more into poker. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm getting older. Like, if I don't take this chance, when can I ever try to do it? And it was a big risk, and I was like scared to tell my parents at first, but you know, eventually I did. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't remember how old I was at that time. I guess this was 2016, so I was I guess 31 at that time.
And Live at the Bike was running at that time. It's a long-standing show.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. But I would say it was more of like a local thing and community thing, as opposed to like a national, international big deal.
I was watching from Canada back in the day when Dave Tuckman and Bart Hansen
and people
were
watched.
doing
Like, the
commentary.
hardcore poker fans did watch. I'm not saying, you know, but I'm just saying it was
wasn't
more
as-
of like
as big.
a community, a Twitch thing, and you know, it was about 5-5, 5-10. It wasn't like about celebrities or big names or anything like that, right? So now I'm like, okay, I get to do some broadcasting. I get to play, this is fun, right? So then eventually I left ESPN because I just wanted to try poker. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, let me see if I can make it as a poker player, right? If I don't try this now, when can I ever do it? And worst case, I just go back to, some other sports company, Fox Sports or whatever. I'll get a job somewhere. I have a great resume. I worked at ESPN, right? I have connections. So I tried it for a few months, played poker, didn't do well. And after a few months, I was trying to figure out what do I want to do now, because now I'm like struggling with money, and I don't know if I can make it in poker. And now I'm like, I was a little depressed actually for a little bit. I'm like, what do I do now? Like, I need to figure this out. Like, man, I left ESPN. I don't want to regret it, but I'm in this weird bind right now. So then all of a sudden something happened, and it was like destiny. Nicole, who was one of the owners of Live at the Bike, she was the producer. All of a sudden I see something on Twitter, I believe it was, there she posts that she's leaving because of family reasons. She just didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't want to.
Nicole and Lyman were staples as commentary,
Yes.
A commentary duo on Live at the Bike.
Yeah, and she did all the organizing, and so the owners at that time were her, I believe it was her, Lyman, Brian, and Evelyn. So I think it was 4 of them. And so when I saw that she was leaving, I'm like, a light bulb just went off. I'm like, man, this would be the perfect job for me. Oh my God, I need a job right now. I can combine poker and production. Like, I want to be in poker, but I love the idea of TV production, and I love organizing. I'm an ideas person. I love just organizing things and putting things together. And I'm like, this would be perfect. I know a lot of poker players in LA. I just become friendly with a lot of people. And I'm like, I really feel like I could help them I have so many ideas. And I started thinking about ideas. I'm like, I feel like I can help them get better. I feel like I can put together some bigger games. Like, why do they not have 25, 50, 50, 100 games, right? Like, they did it once the year before. And I'm just like, why do they never do this? Like, this is what they need to really catch on to get more views. So I approached them. I set up a meeting with the owners, and I said, hey, I know Nicole left.
Who were the owners at the time?
Evelyn, Brian, Lyman. So I met with Evelyn. I think the first time I just met with Evelyn, or maybe it was Evelyn and Brian. I don't remember. And I'm like, these are my ideas. I think I can really help. Like, I don't know how this works. I didn't know first how it worked. I didn't know that you had to be an owner to do this or what. I'm like, look, I don't know how it works. I want Nicole's job. I can help. And I gave him a bunch of ideas, and I proposed some things, and I said, hey, just give me a chance. Let me produce a couple shows, like bigger games, and I'll just show that I can do it. And so they got back to me after a bit, and they're like, you know what? We're going to give you a chance. These are 2 dates. You do it. Prove to us that you can do this. So I did it, and we did back-to-back days. We did a 25, I think it was a 25-50 no limit, and then a 25-50 PLO. 25-50 no limit was a great success. I think the first show we had, I think it was Alex Torelli and Ryan Fee. I believe it was so long ago. I can't remember. And then the next day, the PLO wasn't so good. It was just like a bunch of pros. And but it was still like really cool because they never got big games. And so after that, they came back to me a little while later, and they're like, all right, we're going to give you a chance to just plan the games. Like, we want to hire you to just like organize the games and put the games together for us. So I did that for like, all I was doing was just organizing games. I was just the guy. I was just like starting
and commentary too.
I don't remember. I think I started doing some commentary right away, but I don't remember. But my main role was just organizing the games, contacting players, putting lineups together every day. And I think they did, I want to say 3 days a week back then. So yeah, it was definitely 3 days a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes.
So I did that for like a month or so. And then that was in December of 2016. And then January came, and some point in January, they got back to me. Oh, and before they got back to me, before I was an owner, when all I was just like, they were paying me some nominal amount to like just organize the games. Right away, I was like, I want to prove to them that that I want this. And I want to prove to them that I am the perfect fit for this and they need to hire me. So 2 things I did. One, right away, before I even started taking on the role, I became a prop at the bike because I was like, I want to be at the bike every day to meet players and to prove to them that I want to be here every day, that I'm serious. The only prop jobs they offered was limit hold'em. I like never played limit hold'em before, but I was like low on money at that time, but I was like, screw it. I'm just going to do it anyway. I'll figure it out. I got hired as a 40-80 limit hold'em, which is not small. That's like 10-20 no limit, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a 40-80.
And you have no money.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably like 30K or something, and I'm playing 40-80 limit hold'em, and the first month I just got crushed. Like I couldn't win. The second month I started figuring things out. I started like learning, studying a little bit, and I started winning. But I did that, and I got to play. I just said, hey, can I play no limit when I get picked up or when the game's not running? So I would play 40-80 or 20-40, and then whenever I could, I would jump into the 5-5 or 5-10. So I was there like 8 to 10 hours a day, just propping, playing, meeting players for games. So I did that for a month or a month and a half, and then in January they came back to me finally and gave me the job. And by the way, sorry, the other thing I did before that was I right away was like, I need to make a splash. So I reached out to Doug Polk and I said, he had just been starting to blow up. This was like the beginning of him. He's like a few months into upswing, I believe. He made a big name for himself, but I don't think he was ever on a stream at that point. And I said, hey, like, would you want to come and play on Live at the Bike? We'll put a whole week together. And I just had this idea. I didn't even run it by them at first. I just said, I have this idea. I'm going to go to him and see what he thinks. I think it happened because Ryan Fee played in – I had met Ryan Fee through somebody, and Ryan Fee played in the first game I organized, okay? When he was playing in that game, Doug Polk was in the chat because Ryan Fee's his boy, right? They do upswing together. I saw Doug Polk in the chat, and I'm like, oh, man, this is cool. I got to reach out to him. Like, let's get him on the show. So I reached out to him afterwards, and he's like, oh, yeah, this show was really cool. Like, and I'm like, would you come out here and do a week? We'll plan it around you. We can do high-stakes games. We can do a heads-up thing and we can do like a meet and greet, like whatever you want. We'll market upswing for you. Like, let's make it a big deal. It's called Doug Polk Week. He's like, I'm in. So I told them, hey, I did this before I even became an owner. I said, look, this is what I did. So then when right after that, sometime in January, they came back to me. They said, okay, we believe that you will be able to help us. Like, we want to offer you ownership. So I had to pay some small amount to Nicole to become an owner, to take over her equity. And then, I became the producer, and that's kind of how it started. So that happened and became official in January 2017. Doug Polk Week was scheduled for, I think, the second week of February in 2017. And then once Doug Polk Week happened, I think everything just kind of
What did the numbers go from roughly from when you start, or stats, from when you started that process to when you walked away?
So I remember before I started, to my knowledge, their most views they ever had, as far as I knew, was 1,500 concurrent. And we were only doing Twitch at the time. Now, it could have been more at some point, but I just remember, from my knowledge, I remember them saying 1,500 was the most they ever had. And I think it was some Instagram game we did. And then I don't remember the numbers Doug Polk Week, but I want to say we had... Yeah, actually, I believe we had like 4,000 or 5,000 most of the days that week. I vividly remember it being like 4,800, 5,200, like 3 days in a row. And they had never had 1,500 before that. And even in that, in those 25-50 games, we did a few of them before Doug Polk Week, and I think we were getting like 2,000 or 2,500. I could be wrong. I remember after that, those next few months, we were getting at least 1,500 concurrent every mid-stakes game. And then we were getting, if we did something smaller, like a 5-5 or a PLO, maybe it was less, like 1,000 or less. But any like 5-10, eventually we created the 5-5 100 or 5-5 50 ante game, or whatever we called it back then. Those were getting like 1,500 minimum peak concurrent. Usually 2,000 plus within a few months. And then the Friday games were all getting, I think they were getting like 3,000 plus at the beginning. So and then when I left, the most we had, I believe, was either 11,000 or 13,000, somewhere in that range.
And like the $1 million
for the second
buy-ins.
one, the one with Oscar, yeah.
So I find your story quite interesting because it's like a butterfly effect. If you had done really great in poker that first while that you started playing poker, I feel like maybe none of this would have happened. Hustler wouldn't have happened because you're like, yeah, I'm broke. I have to figure something out. But
Yeah,
I wonder if you're...
I actually don't think so, though, because even though I tried it and I played poker for a bit, the fact that this came up, and it was the perfect opportunity because I loved poker at the time. And I mean, I think no matter what, if I went on a 200K upswing at that time, I don't think it would have mattered. The fact that this came up, I would have grabbed that opportunity because, I've always had a passion for just creating things and being a part of things and production. And, when I was at ESPN, it was just really...
You wanted to pivot more into poker than just playing poker because you loved it so much.
Well, I didn't know there was another opportunity besides play.
Right.
Well, now when I commentated on Live at the Bike at the beginning because I thought that was super cool. I'm commentating on a show. I just thought the idea of a poker production, once I came across it, was just really cool. It just combined my two passions, which is poker and broadcasting and production. So, I think that no matter what, because you can run a show and you can still play, right?
Yeah.
Like I was going in there and I was playing a bunch of hours, organizing the games on the side. The game starts running. At that time I wasn't involved in the control room. I wasn't doing anything in the control room. I wasn't directing or anything like that. So I just organized the games. I got the lineups together. I got the players there. I did the social media, the marketing, all that stuff. And then once the show started, I was just hanging out playing poker in the poker room while the game was going on. Or I would hang out near the table just to be there if they needed anything or whatever, if Nick wanted Splenda or something. But
So I'm curious, when your ideas became too big for Live at the Bike, when did you start feeling frustrated and considering Hustler or considering something else?
Can I ask it this way too? Because I know how to lead him there, Valerie, and then he's going to answer the same question. But let me just ask it this way, and it's the same thing, but a little
bit of mansplaining
a little
here.
Side of sour cream, okay? So take just as you can, take us through the evolution of you becoming that partner, bringing it, as far as where it's going, and then where did the rocky road start? When did they become mountains? And then when was the decision to and when was the decision to say, I'm going this direction?
Did he ask it better or did I? Because I think my question was better, but it was the same question.
no comment.
He doesn't want to hurt your
On
feelings.
the question, not the actual question. No, so the first year was awesome. We went from it was a new thing. I mean, I'm sure you guys have things where you can relate. You get into a new project and you start doing well and you love it, right? It's a passion. You're like, this is so much fun. I don't care what the money is or whatever. This is just fun. Look at the results, right?
Yeah.
The beginning is always...
You love the art of it. You love the process of producing and getting a show together.
No, I do. But what I'm saying is just in general, in any project...
You're so excited
is
about
that
a brand
the beginning
new...
is always the best part,
Yeah.
right? When I worked at ESPN, the first year... I
It's
would
personal relationships.
I didn't do
too.
anything else. I was fanboying. I'm like, wow, look, there's Jerry Rice. There's this person, Snoop Dogg. Wow, look at ESPN. It's so cool to work here, right? I go home and I'm just doing nothing else but thinking about ideas. I want to keep working hard and get that good rating and show them that this is fun. I want to be at work every minute of the day, right? But then by the third year, you're just this is just a job, what do I do next? How do I... if you don't find a way to just move up the ladder, it changes, right? So that first year at Live at the Bike was so much fun, right? I took over as a new thing. It's a new, it's a
challenge.
It's a new challenge. It's a new field that I'm in. I felt in charge, I mean, I kind of like being in charge of things, right? Especially if it's something I feel that I'm doing well at.
Yeah.
And I felt like we were doing well that first year. I mean, I knew what they were at before, and now I see these new things I brought in. I added in a Friday game, and I just committed to it. And
Did you like the paywall that they had?
No, but I mean, that at the beginning, I didn't think too much of it because that's just what it was, right? It took me a while before I was like, wait, let's do this, let's do that, let's make changes, which obviously were hard to do, but we'll get to that. But that first year, I was like, I came up with, an Annie game at some point. I came up with a Friday game, and that was a big thing. I'm going to commit to promising that I'm going to find a way to get a 25, 50 or bigger game every single Friday. I think that was April 2017 we started that. And it was a challenge because if I commit to that and then it doesn't happen, then I look bad, right? So I was like, I'm going to do it, right? And then a few months later, we get Garrett, we get Nick. All of a sudden, we have a game every day or every Friday, right? Thanks to Nick. And
yeah.
And that's how you met him?
Yeah, I had met him at Yeah, real quick. I had met Nick at Commerce, just playing with him a couple times in 2016, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then, we just knew each other from that a little bit. And then I think I ran into him at the World Series in 2017. He doesn't remember how this came out, but
I have no idea.
I believe I remember vividly running into him in 2017 at the World Series. He was like putting his name on the board for cash games at the Rio, in the cash game room there. And I'm like, oh, hey, Nick, you remember me? Whatever. We start talking. We exchange information. I think maybe I told him about the show at that point. And then I think after the World Series, we started talking, and I think then he reached back out to me, and he's like, hey, I would like to play your show.
I think Garrett said he told me to play it and then told you to get this guy Nick.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. But I remember you either we met at the World Series, we talked, and then you emailed me or sent the form on the website, and I was like, oh, Nick, yeah, hey, what's up?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I do. I think I do remember that because Garrett's like, I need this guy in my game.
Yeah, of course, he still does.
Yeah, but that's how we met, or that's how we started becoming friends, and how he got in the show. But anyway, so yeah, that first year was so much fun. We did Doug Polk Week. We did it, I think, again later that year in November. We were really making a name for ourselves that first year. I remember going to the World Series that year, and then everyone just being like, oh, the show's great. I love that stuff. It's obviously amazing, even bigger now when me and Nick go to the World Series a few months ago, and people are coming up to us oh, your shows are great. People at the table talking about it. I love that stuff. After the first year, we brought in 2 more owners because Lyman had left, and we he had to sell his equity, and so we had to decide who to bring in. And so we brought in these 2 new owners for a small share, and that's when things kind of got a little weird because now there's 5 owners. Before there was 3 of us, and they kind of trusted me, and they're like, wow, you're crushing it. We're just gonna let you do whatever you want here. So the other 2 owners were, at the beginning, were just kind of doing their thing, and I was doing all out of the in front of the scenes work, just the content and the organizing the commentators and the lineups and just everything, right? And it was fun, and we were doing well. When the other 2 owners came in, now we had to figure out what do they do, what's their role, right?
Who are the other 2 owners?
JJ and Dan. So
JJ's still there. Still one of the owners.
No.
Well, yeah, he's still involved. Whatever. We don't need to get into that stuff. But yeah, he's still involved in the show. Yeah, exactly.
The people want to know.
Right. So, I was the one who really pushed for those 2 to come in because I was like, this would be real. So the way I looked at it back then was, okay, we have this. The show's doing great. We have to bring in we have to bring in at least 1 new person, right? Who do we bring in? And I was thinking at the time it would look good to have an owner that has a lot of credibility as a really good poker player. I was like, I know I'm not some great poker player who has some reputation, right? I like poker. I think I'm okay, but nobody's gonna, subscribe or watch because they want to listen to my analysis, right? At least at that time. So I'm like, it would be really cool to bring in these 2 guys. One who's a high stakes crusher, one who's a mid stakes crusher who just does, really well in LA poker. They were already commentating on our show, both of them. They're already involved. Why not just give them equity, let them buy in?
And the Dan you're referring to is Dan Zach.
Yeah. So
it's Dan Zach.
Yeah. And I remember I proposed to them. I'm like, hey, this would be so cool if we brought Dan Zach in. That would give us so much credibility, So we brought them in over the other people we were looking at, and they became owners, but we weren't really sure what the plan was of what role they were going to have because we had this thing where it was owner operators. So it was if you're an owner, you got to work, because we pay out at the end of the month, based on your equity, right? If you have 20%, you get 20% of whatever the profit is that month. That's how it works. So everyone's got to try to do as much work as they can just to, you can't just invest. It's such a little amount that you invest and sit back and collect checks. That's not fair. So everyone kind of agreed you're an owner operator, right? So we're like, well, what can they do besides commentate? They're already commentating, right? So we're like, all right, well, what if you guys do some strategy videos, and that's where you guys can contribute. You can teach people, put out videos. That's what these are really good poker players. So anyway, just that was kind of the role. But a few months later, we were doing really well. We were crushing. We started doing those $1 million cash games, and like the games were sick and all of that. And there was a lot of just animosity between us and for different reasons. And it just kind of I kind of felt like, man, like, I feel like I want to do everything. It's not like I didn't want to do all the work in a way, or at least most of it, because I enjoy doing it, especially again, when I feel like what I'm doing is good and like it's making us successful. But I like being in a position, and this is what's great about and we'll get to this later, but about our company now, is that I feel like now, like, all of the people involved love it, and they all like do work on their own without me or Nick asking them. Like, they just do it because they love it and they want to contribute, right? That's and maybe I just have like high expectations, and I just come from like a different, like a business world where those guys didn't really come from a business world. They were poker players, so I was expecting too much. But I'm like, man, like, I want people to match my energy and match my enthusiasm, my work ethic, right? Like, to me, like, if you own a restaurant, right? My philosophy is, when that restaurant starts, you go in there and you're an owner, you go work as much as you can to make that place successful, right? And build value. You don't go in and say, you know what, guys, like, I already worked 30 hours this week. Like, sorry, like, I can't help anymore. It's your company, right? You do whatever it takes. That's just always been my philosophy. Maybe some people aren't like that, but that's how I am. And so when there's people that I felt like weren't matching that and had like a different philosophy of just like, well, like, you know, I'm an owner, but I'm only going to do this. That's where I got a little frustrated, and it became weird. And so after a while, after, you know, a few months, and that intersected with the time when we were just crushing it. Like, we had all of our biggest games, the $1 million cash game. Nick played in the first one with Berkey and got bluffed off aces. The second one was just our biggest viewership at the time. And then the third one was like a week later. This is in March now of 2019. And all this stuff was happening at the same time. And we had our biggest revenue month that month when when these number 2 and number 3 $1 million cash games happened. And I'm like, man, we're crushing. Like, in my mind, I'm like, why wouldn't the other people be like, hey, Ryan, like, great job with this. Like, you're crushing it. What can we do to help you? Mm-hmm. But instead, they just didn't want to do any. Like, I'm just like, guys, like, I'm asking you if you can come in and do an extra commentary shift so that I don't have to like do a million different things. Like, we're crushing right now. Everyone's making more money. Like, step up. So I got really frustrated about a lot of that, and that's when all of that kind of started. And me and Nick had already been friends for a while because he was playing on the show every week. He started off playing every Friday. Eventually, he started playing Tuesdays too. So, you know, we just would start talking, and then I kind of confided in him about some of my frustration, and Nick eventually was like, hey, like, I have a business background. Like, listen, like, if you ever like leave here for any reason, like, we could go crush it somewhere else.
And just to refresh you a little bit, how it originally started, and you're accurate, is when you started confiding, we started talking about the business end of it, and I would say to you a lot of times, you know, Ryan, why isn't somebody's name on this felt? You know, and you're like, I mean, you know, and you would be like, I don't know, and how come there isn't this and this type of advertising? And you're like, well, I'm doing this, but I have these partners. And it's like, we talked about all these business and all the revenue that was being left on the table and all the things they should have invested in, like the technology, because they really had the market cornered, and it was really not great, you know, the technology and the production of it, other than the lineups and all the stuff Ryan did. And he's like, yeah, Nick, and he just said, it's just hard. I got these 4 partners, and this one is silent, and these 2 don't want to work, and this one's this, and it's like, and it's just really tough. And he was getting more frustrated. And your initial ask was, because initially I gave you something to keep you going and playing and whatever, and then your initial ask was, you said, what would you do if it was you? And I said, well, I don't know. You have to be careful, because if you're doing something you love, be careful. You don't want to give it up, but at the same time, if you can't do what you love the right way, then maybe you need to make that decision, but only you could make it. And the initial thing was like, if I would fund something, like, because like we got to know each other, and like, would I fund something? And I said, yeah, I'd think about it. And then what had happened was, I got in a thing where they thought that I was doing something with Ryan, and I mentioned this on another show, and I kind of got like benched. And they started jamming me about my phone, and then they called me with Evelyn and everyone on the phone. They're like, "Are you doing this? We have to know if you're going to continue to play." And I said,
"This meaning you and Ryan
go get a show.
You and Ryan separating and doing
and I told them the truth.
This is after I left, though, right? Yeah.
No,
No, that was all. No, that was when you were still playing.
Yeah,
that's
right.
No, this is after I left. This is when you were still playing on the show because all you cared about is being able to play every week. So basically, you're missing the. So I left in April, and then there's like a thing where you have like 6 month withdrawal period. So I was still technically involved till I sold my equity, but they had 6 months to buy it or get someone to buy it.
Yeah.
So I was still involved, but I was like backing off, and not doing much work with them because I was on my way out. So they didn't want me to do anything.
That's right.
So
were you on your way out with or without starting another live stream?
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So the thing that Nick's talking about was between April and October, when that period when I was still officially part of them, but I had already withdrawn.
That's right.
And that there was already they already knew. There was rumblings and everyone knew that like me and Nick were starting to do this, but Nick was trying to like hide it a little bit because he all he cared about was like, hey, I don't want to get banned. Like I just want to play on their show.
No, to be fair,
he loves poker.
To be fair, and this is the way I know it, is initially it was a funding of it, and that's what they hit me up about. And when they called me, so when they called me,
we didn't really have a plan.
No, I'm telling you, when they called me, and first of all, they jammed me about this because they wanted to like get me in a corner and figure it out.
Right.
And then when they all called me, I'm like, I told them the truth. I said, Ryan wasn't happy. He asked me what I would do. I said, I would follow what my gut is. That's the decision he made. And he had asked me if he does something, would I be willing to finance it or fund it? And I said, possibly, but I would have to look at it.
Right.
Then when I realized what they did to me, and me being like holding that show together for 2 years or whatever it was, and being loyal to the Tuesday and Friday game. I mean, I never missed. So the last thing is, when I knew that happened to me, and then they were like, JJ was doing the thing, well, we got to make sure, and it was just this big like disrespectful thing. I hadn't done anything yet, but play.
No.
Then me and Ryan were talking, and I'm like, let's go. I said, I'm not going to play there anymore.
because you were like, if they're going to treat me like that.
If they're going to treat me like this, fuck you. I don't want to play anymore, and let's go. And we then decided we were going to go get a show.
I remember talking about that the one day because we were playing in like the back room, and I just vividly remember like that moment, that frustration, and I think maybe then they started saying stuff like that to other players too about. I don't know. I just remember everything kind of changed once they knew that I was like after I left. But I remember I kept organizing. Basically, after I left, I stayed at the bike and I kept organizing private games off camera in the back, and a lot of my players wanted to play
as a host.
Yeah, as like they hired me or not hired me, but they asked me to just organize games, and they knew I was like trying to do something to compete, right? Like when I left. And so it became a little weird. They were trying to figure out like who's on Ryan's side here or who's following him. And
they pictured me and him as friends because we were, and then I got caught in the tune.
I want to ask you, what was it about Ryan that made you trust him and say, okay, fuck it, let's do this?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of money to start a live stream.
Yeah. So what it was is that I saw from being there for a few years who was putting in the sweat equity, who was putting in the ideas, and who was trying to make this grow and who wasn't. And I saw that, and that's why a lot of our talks started, because then Ryan, me having a business background, started asking me questions and confiding in me, and then we just became friends. And then at one point, I even mentioned this like a long time ago on our pod or somewhere, I loaned money to Ryan to play. He paid me back, all that, and we just became friends. He became a close enough friends where I would give him $30,000 to go play, and then he grinded his way back and paid me back, and then we went through all this. And like I said, like, I was still running businesses at the time, and I wasn't looking for any change in my life. I was looking to play on Tuesdays and Fridays, and they just started screwing with that. Like the paranoia set in, and then they were like, they pinned me in a corner. I don't like to be treated that way. And then there was another couple times, if Ryan remembers, when Wayne started taking over, or JJ or somebody in the lineups, like there was like a special week and I couldn't get a seat. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, you built these games around me. I'm still a fish. What are you talking about? So this had to be tied to him. I don't know what it was. And so that's when we sat down. There was like a pivotal moment, and I just said, hey, you know what, bro? I'm done here. Let's go.
But it couldn't be just that they screwed you over. Like you can't just give your money to someone just because someone else screwed you over. There had to be something about Ryan's passion or what he was saying to you or doing.
Ryan was the show. Ryan built that show. Ryan took the show from nothing. I always say this every time we're talking about it. Like, me and him fight like a husband and wife, and we troll each other. And I always, try to say he's like
Which
an
one's
idiot.
the wife?
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, he's an idiot, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, when you get me serious on a subject, Ryan built that show. Ryan took it from where it was to what it was, and he could have taken it a lot further, and they could have just sailed into the sunset, but they were too narrow-minded and lazy. And so the bottom line is, what made me confident in it is I saw his work ethic. I knew what he would do, and I knew what we could do together, because I knew one of the things that he didn't have was the back end of this business.
The business mindset.
I mean, he'd be chewed up and spit out by now, in fairness, and I wouldn't be able to do what he does. Like, for him, I got questions for him on this, but like, for him, dealing with these personalities and egos and grinding this on the daily, trying to keep these and build these games from the ground up, that's not something I could physically do, because I don't want to do that. That's my first thing. And the second thing is, I couldn't manage those egos like he does, because I got too big of an ego, right? So he just knows how to play them perfect and handle them. And then, like I said, on the other side of it, if somebody just sent him an agreement, he'd just sign it. So he wouldn't, you know what I mean? And so, right?
So no, 100%. I think that people, like, from the outside, don't really understand or know like Nick's impact on all of it and like what he actually does, because all they see is the lineups and the all the fun stuff, right? But I could never do this on my own. I just can't. Like, I need some, like, I didn't know at the time what I needed, right?
Yeah.
But at first, I'm just like, I need someone to put money up so we could buy equipment, right?
Yeah, that was the initial thing.
Yeah, right. But now, like, once we got going, I realized, like, I could never do this without Nick. Like, Nick does so much stuff that people just don't see and don't know about. I mean, there's just the business stuff. There's selling advertising, talking to companies. There's dealing with like casino people. There's, he's making deals with all different content related things and things that like I just don't have time or the skill set to be able to do myself. Like, I just can't, right? Like Nick went out himself. We had no advertisers for the first few months. We talked about it. All of a sudden, boom, Nick sells like 7 ads, right? Like, I could never do that, right? I remember when I was alive at the bike, we like almost never sold ads, and we had people that weren't doing what I was doing, and I'm like, why are we not selling ads, right? And Nick's got a million other things he does too, and he plays 2-3 days a week, and he still did it, right? There's things like just administrative stuff, spreadsheets, taxes, payroll. Like, I can't do that stuff myself. Like, there's so many things that he's doing on the back end that are not fun for me.
Well, don't put him in the tech booth, so he also can't do what you're doing.
But that's what makes it work well, is that, like, he's not trying to step on my toes. I'm not trying to step on his toes, right? Like, he knows what he brings to the table. I know what I bring to the table, and we respect that about each other. Like, he's not trying to come direct. He's not trying direct, like in the booth. He's not trying to organize the lineups. He's not trying to do like social media. He's not trying to like do our graphics. He's not even really, unless he has like a really strong opinion about something, he's not even like saying like, hey, why are we doing this, or let's do this, right? Like, very rarely. Usually he just sees it and he's like,
except when you went to the multicolored cards, I fucking lost my mind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, so like, he knows our roles. Like, he knows that he's like, well, we're crushing it, so like, I don't need to say anything. Like, I'm letting Ryan do his thing, and I'm like, well, we're crushing on the business end. So like, if I have input, or I'm like, hey, let's do this, I tell him. But mostly, like, he just comes to me and he's like, hey, we just made a deal for X amount of money. I'm like, cool, awesome. Here's the lineup for tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's we're inking that this week. We're going into China with our content. We got a big licensing agreement and fee, and so we're crushing it.
So you came on Poker After Dark. That's how I've met you before that. Yeah. But I interviewed you on Poker After Dark. You were dressed like Liberace.
I thought about wearing that today, but
yeah, I really was. I was like going to text you and ask you where it actually sparkly jacket.
I could have.
But so you came in, and I remember you saying like, "Yeah, I'm starting up a live stream." It was before Hustler started.
Yeah, I guess that was
like right before.
April. It was a few months before we started. Yeah.
And I was like, what is this guy doing? Because, I had been working on Stones Live, and it was like mediocre success. Like, we would get like 250, 500 people watching. And then I knew Live at the Bike was like barely doing well. And I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, sure, yeah, like, nice one, Ryan. Like, good for you.
Oh,
like,
you really? Wow,
good.
you didn't have faith in us?
No, because I was just like, I'm sure it's not going to do well. Like, I was
Really? Wow.
thinking about it the way that I had seen live streams
Yeah.
up until that point. So then you come out with the show, and literally, you guys like rocket ships exploded, you know? And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, from working on Live at the Bike and seeing other live streams, and like you guys your ratings are better than like ESPN. Well, I don't know if it was ESPN or NBC that used to run the main event of the World Series of Poker. You guys have the biggest,
ESPN, yeah.
the most viewership of any poker shows out there. You're the biggest poker show in the world. Like, what's the secret sauce? What do you think, from your perspective, that secret sauce is?
It's so hard to say in like one or two things, but I think the most general way to say it is that we have the right people involved in the production who know how to like, put a poker show together, and who like just have the passion to do it. I think anybody can just come up with the money to buy equipment and a fancy set, right? Anybody can do that. Anybody can just say, hey, look, we have this sick setup and here's our show, right?
We know someone who just did.
Yeah, but nobody can match the people we have that actually love it and like understand poker, and that we know the players, and like we all work together well. Like me, Nick, you know, we have these guys in production that Kyle that's putting together all these videos. We have all these guys, and we have new guys that have come in who just actually like believe in what we're doing and love it. And, you know, I talked about this earlier, how the idea of people coming and doing work on their own and coming up with ideas and being like, hey, look, I did this, and not being like, well, I'm only going to do this if you know, pay me this amount of money or something, or I can only do this many days a week. Like, no, they love it. They're going home and doing so much for us and coming into work every day with a smile on their face. We don't have to like beg them to come work. And they understand like they're good at the creative part. They are poker people, poker players. And I think all of us together, we just found the right formula of people who love it. And also just being at a place like Hustler where they get it, and Sean and his people, like they actually like are supporting us, right? That might not be the case at any other casino, like, but at Hustler, like they actually, they put billboards up for us. Like they're promoting us. They're taking pictures, they're putting out content. Like they love what we're doing, and they understand the value we're providing. And so I think it's just all the people we brought together. We just kind of created the right formula and maybe got lucky in some ways. And I think it's just our group, you know. We have a great production. Our cameras are great, right? Our set's cool. Obviously, like the lineups are a huge part of it.
How did you get Mr. Beast? Like, how do you get these people?
It's just all of this. The easiest way to explain is just networking. It's just networking and like being a normal human who like understands how to talk to people and build relationships. Like I'm not.
Yeah, but how did you do it? No,
yeah,
I'm kidding.
exactly. Right.
Yeah, but how do you get Mr. Beast's
joking,
number?
I'm
How do you
joking.
contact Mr. Beast?
I'm not. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people out there don't know me on a personal level or whatever Nick does. Like I'm not fake. I don't like. I'm gonna say what I believe. Like I know how to talk to people. I'm not like perfect or anything. Like I make mistakes. I sometimes piss people off, whatever. But if I do, I understand my mistakes. I know how to fix it. So I think I'm just like a normal person who like understands how to talk to people and build relationships. And I actually like these people and become friends with them. Right. And there's so many different personalities, right? You know, some people can't like get along with these weird people in poker and different personalities and egos. Right. But I just actually find the good in people, and I just, a lot of it is just building this network, right, over the years. So, you know, I started doing this in poker, and when I moved to LA 2015, I started meeting people. And then when I started working at the bike, like 2016, 17, I started building that network. And it's just about, I mean, it's not hard to get people that just love playing poker and see how good of a show we have. Like, it's not that hard. If you're like, hey, here's a great lineup. We have a great show. We're the #1 show in poker. We want you to come play. Like, will you do this? Like, it's, if you just come across real and not fake, like, it's not that hard. But you actually have to like build your network and work hard. So for someone like Mr. Beast, all it was like, okay, I've known these people from Poker King Media, that's now WPT, for a while now. Like, just a few people I just kind of got to know through poker. They're poker players. I'm friendly with them, right? We start our show. We're about to come on the air. I see that they represent Phil Ivey and Tom Dwan. I reach out to them and I'm like, hey, do you think we could ever get them on our show? They're like, sure. I'm like, that would be incredible. I keep talking to them. We go back and forth. They're like, well, we want to see what your show's like, how good it is. I'm like, hey, what do you think so far? We just keep going back and forth, right? Eventually, we get Ivy and Dwan on the show. We build this relationship with them. They like what we did. Now we have a relationship with them. Nick starts talking to them, starts building a business relationship for advertising and all of that, right? We start talking about how can we create more content. Eventually, they're like, hey, we want to do a creator game where it's just like this small game, maybe like a sit and go. And we have like some Twitch and YouTube people we want to bring. And we have this girl, Alexandra Botes. She's a chess streamer. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's do it. That'd be awesome. We have an open mind. We want to reach out. We want to reach people outside of poker, right? We're not just trying to bring these, LA 5, 10, 20 players. Like we want this thing to be big. We want the big names. We understand that like esports and celebrities and all of that, like streamers, like those are the people that really bring views. Like some of these guys are streaming and getting 50, 100,000 people a day. Like that's way bigger than poker. So how do we get into that area? We always knew it was something we wanted to get. Last year when we first started, I had heard about Mr. Beast playing poker, right? I didn't even know who he was like 2 years ago, but I heard about him playing and I'm like, wow, this guy's a big deal. He has like nearly 100 million, now it's over 100 million subscribers on YouTube. That is one of my goals. We have to get him on the show, right? Like there's always people in my mind. I've always said on different podcasts, I want to get Steph Curry, Justin Bieber, Kevin Hart, whatever. Mr. Beast was always for the last year and a half at the top of that list once I heard about him playing poker. And I didn't know how to get him because I didn't have direct access to him, right? But I kind of knew it'll happen eventually because he just likes poker and we have the best poker show, right? So now they want to do this creator night and we're going back and forth with them. Last minute, I hear what the lineup is because they planned it all themselves and just brought it to us. And I hear Ludwig's in and I'm like, this is how we get Mr. Beast. I know that Ludwig is like best friends with Mr. Beast. I know they've done content together. They played heads up poker on a stream before. Like this is our opportunity. I need to get to know Ludwig so we can hit that goal, right?
Yeah.
So they come that night, a Tuesday night. We got this cool event, with all these streamers, Alexander Botes, Ludwig, Sakuno, a bunch of other people. And so Ludwig comes, I introduce myself. During one of the breaks, I come down and talk to him for a couple of minutes. What do you think? Do you like how this is going? He's like, yep. I really like this. This is cool. I'd love to do more stuff with you. After the show, I go down to the table. I'm just like hanging out with them. We're just talking. It's like me, Ludwig, I think Alexandra, a couple other people. We're just hanging out, talking after the show about how it went, different ideas. And I said, hey, like, I know you're close with Mr. Beast, like, and he likes poker. Do you think he would ever do something like this? Like, that'd be cool if the next time we plan an event like this, like if you could get him. And he's like, sure, like, let me ask him right now. So he texts him right then. Mr. Beast texts him right back. And he's like, yeah, like, how about this Sunday? And I'm like, what? So Ludwig's like, he wants to know if you can do this Sunday at like 8:00. And I'm like, we don't normally stream Sundays, but yes, of course. Like, I'll do anything. Are you serious? And all of a sudden I have that weird sensation, or as Nick likes to say, tingling sensation, where I'm like, oh my God, like, is this really happening? Like, are we really about to get Mr. Beast? But it's like, when these things happen at first, I'm like, this is too good to be true. Like, let me just calm down first. I didn't even tell Nick or anyone yet. I'm just like, let's see what happens, The next morning, I reach back out to Ludwig and I'm like, hey, are you, like, is this really happening? Like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, like, let me confirm with him just to make sure. And then he gets back to me right away and he's like, yep, he's in Sunday, 8:00. I'm like, okay, I think this is real, guys. Like, I'm like, hey, Nick, Sean, like, look at this. Like, I think we just got Mr. Beast for this Sunday. And so we immediately start planning it, and that's just how it came together.
Do you remember the three of us playing poker with Mr. Beast?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Right
Because he got there and he wanted to play, and I happened to be there, and just randomly, because I was in LA for the weekend, I was talking to you. The three of us go and play with Mr. Beast.
Get to play with
we
him,
played poker.
And I was
with
like,
him.
oh, this is so
5-10.
When I was sitting there, we were playing 5-10. I was like, don't act weird. Don't act weird. Don't act like he's like the biggest YouTube star in the world.
You know what's crazy, real quick? I know you're gonna say something.
No, it's okay.
So that was like our biggest show ever, obviously, right? Huge deal at the time. I'm like a little nervous, anxiety, like, wow, like I mean, especially when all those people eventually showed up and I'm seeing Mr. Beast and Tom Dwan and Ninja, and I'm just like, holy shit, like this is really happening. Like they're all actually here. Like, because Ludwig organized most of that. You know, I was in touch with Mr. Beast the day before, and that's when it really hit me, like, okay, he's really coming. Like it's funny, randomly, this is on a Sunday morning, all of a sudden I had never talked to Mr. Beast yet, you know, just Ludwig said he's in, that's it. I saw them talking about it on like their stream, so I knew it was really happening. But then I get a call, and you know how sometimes your phone will say who the person is even if you don't have it saved, and it said like James Donaldson, and I'm like, wait, that's Mr. Beast. I'm like, hello? He's like, hi, this is Mr. I'm like, wow, this is really happening. But anyway, so yeah, it was really like surreal when they all actually showed up. But what I was gonna say is, what's crazy is that I get there like super early Sunday, right? To set everything up. I'm like, the game was at like 8. I got there at like 4 o'clock. I'm like, I gotta get everything ready. You know, the crew's gonna come in. Our production crew's gonna come in like 5, 6, whatever time. And when I get in, I see that like everything was off, like all of our computers. And I'm like, what happened? And there was some sort of like power outage like overnight, which happens once in a while, right? Like just a power outage for whatever reason. So our whole control room, everything's turned off or restarted. I'm like, okay, like this is weird, but whatever, it happens, no big deal. So I turn everything back on, right? My goal was to get there so early to be so prepared with everything, right? Because this is a big deal. So Patrick, our director, gets there a little while later. We're setting everything up. But then I didn't know that Mr. Beast was going to show up so early, right? Like he showed up way before anyone else, and he's the biggest celebrity there. He shows up at like...
With his like 3 security guards, I remember.
Yeah, he shows up at like 5 something. So I don't remember if it was him or one of his guys or if it was Sean who called me and was like, hey, like Mr. Beast is going to be here in a couple minutes. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Like I think Sean told me he wants to come and like take a nap in my office first or something. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let me meet him first when he gets here. So I'm setting everything up, but there was still a lot more work I had to do. And then Mr. Beast arrives. So I go meet him, and now I'm hanging out with him while he's getting his chips and talking to him. I go show him the set, bring him upstairs, show him the control room. He wanted to see that. Like, we give him the whole tour. Then he says, hey, like, can I like play to warm up? And I'm like, I don't know if you want to go play on the floor or one of these games. Like, you know, if you want to though, yeah, sure. And he's like, what if we just like play with just like us just for fun? And I'm like, if you want to play, like we could organize like a 5-10 game stage and we could all just play, you know. So that's when that happened. And so because of that, I couldn't pass up that opportunity, right? So we all played, and that took time away from me in the control room, making sure everything's working, right? So Patrick's playing with us too. Everyone's playing, and we didn't really finish organizing. So now I left that game in the middle while you guys were playing. I'm like, I got to go get everything ready because we're like 45 minutes out from showtime, right? So I go to finalize everything. We got this ad we got to do and the countdown, and we got this and we got that. And, you know, I didn't even really test cards. We didn't test like, you know, we didn't test anything. We didn't do a dry run, which we should be.
We were sitting at the table.
Yeah, we should be doing a dry run, but we didn't because he's there and we wanted to like hang out with him, right? So now we're just rushing to I'm rushing to get everything done. Like the rest of my crew wants to play poker at the table. This is an opportunity for them. So I'm just like, all right, guys, like you got to leave in a few minutes. We got to set this up. So now we're like all hectic, right? So we start the show. We're on the air, and we realize that like our stream decks that operate the cameras, like there's all these malfunctionings not working as we come on the air. And I realized later it was because of the power outage. The power outage somehow messed everything up. And if we realized and we tested, we would have like unplugged and restarted all the stream decks and the software, but we didn't. So we come on the air and Patrick's like, the cameras aren't working. I'm like pushing this button. It's going to this. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's freaking out. And I'm just like, dude, I got so much stuff going on right here. Like I have to worry about this. Like, you're the technical director. You got to figure it out. Okay. Like we have, I don't know how many people watching we're going to have watching the beginning, but you need to figure this out. Like I cannot do this for you. And the whole show was just like technical issues while we have our biggest show ever because we didn't have a chance to like actually prepare because he wanted to play poker with us beforehand. So it was actually like from a production perspective, from a technical perspective, I should say, it was like our worst show ever since like the first week of the show. And somehow we still pulled it off and did it to the best that we could with what we had
Like
in
millions of
front
views.
of like 100,000 people.
Nobody
It's like
noticed.
100,000 people.
Yeah, I mean,
live,
most
right?
not many
Most
people
didn't
would.
notice.
Yeah, but at the beginning we had like a black screen at one point. We went to like the wrong shot. Audio was bad at the beginning. Like there was so many glitches. But yeah, I mean,
That's such a good
99% of the
story.
people watching are just like Mr. Beast and Ludwig fans who have no clue what's going on, and they thought everything was cool. But we're freaking out in the back end because we want everything to be perfect, and we're having like the worst show ever. I have to try to make everybody like hold it together, and I can't panic. I'm like, guys, we're good. Let's just do this. Like, we can't argue. We got to keep going on with the show. Like, this is a big show. Like, let's just all do our best and just focus, even though things aren't working that well. But
Yeah.
it's just amazing looking
one
back
noticed.
at how like there were so many technical issues, and we just kept going.
Yeah, and what I think that your original question, which I was going to say earlier, is here the secret sauce is this. I mean, and it's a lot of the stuff Ryan just said, but to put it just in a different way, is you got the main people and every other cursory person in this thing that, like, I could just tell you for Ryan and I, like, when we would sit down and talk, our whole goal over everything was just to make this the best. There was no corners cut. We decided to put everything into it, whatever his portion was, whatever mine was. We just went all into it, and we were like both wanting more than anything is to be the best. So like it was really important for us to like come out really hot and just be the best. I think it's surreal, and it's exceeded really even what I thought it would be, because we have that kind of passion for it. Because the owners, like, there's an old Italian term that says a fish stinks at the head, whether it's good or bad. And so like the owners of this and the people that are our core people working together, like Ryan said, have such a passion for it, and like everything is attention to detail, and how can we constantly be better. No one's sitting on their laurels thinking, okay, we got the best show, let's just go party. Like everyone's continuing to like, okay, we got to have another deal, we're going to go into China, we want to package it for TV. Ryan's, I want Mr. Beast, I'm going to like this. We had a 16-hour show. It's like there's this constant and this momentum that's behind it, and
Yeah, exactly.
we love what we like. We love it.
We actually enjoy it.
Like,
We love it.
love
Like,
it.
we look forward to working every day and come up with new ideas. Like, every time we have like a sick show, we're thinking, how do we top this? What do we do next? But it's not like we need to do it next week. It's like, well, we're patient about it. Like, in a few months maybe, like, because our show is still great every day in between, right? Like, yeah, sometimes we have a Mr. Beast game. Sometimes we have a 16-hour, 200, 400 game with 500K pots. But, we have 5 days a week. So we got to come in the next day and put out more content. And every day is unique and good enough. Like, just because we have a show that had 20,000 views or this many views doesn't mean the next day when we have 5,000 views that's bad. Like, that's still great. Think about where we came from, where we started, where we're at before, like, or what anyone else in poker is doing. I mean, other streams are having like some of their best lineups and getting, 3, 4, 5,000 viewers, right? Like, that's like great for them. And somehow our worst shows are getting like 5,000, 6,000 viewers. And I don't even get it sometimes. Like, how is this happening? Like, people just love this. All we're doing is we're just doing what we think is right. Like, we don't have some special formula, right? This is the cool part to me, and the surreal part is like me, Nick, the other people that were involved from the beginning, none of us were like actual experts that had some secret formula or business plan for how to build a sick poker show or a YouTube channel. Like, all we did was every step of the way, we just did, this is what we think is right. This is what we believe is good, right? And we all kind of trusted each other, and we discussed things and all of that. And we have all these creative minds that love poker and, get YouTube and all that. But like, none of us on our own have built organically some channel that has
we
a ton
all
of
brought
viewership.
pieces to it. Like, for example, we have, like Ryan mentioned, we have a casino that is willing to not only build like the sickest stage and put that kind of money into it, but then he or I make a call or a text, and the answer is yes. Like, we need this. This is good for the show. That's good for the casino. It's good. And the answer is yes. There's no bullshit. It's just that. And then you have one of the owners who has like we know, we talked about this major talent and passion for this end of the business that he knows. I had, coming from the business background, a production team and a production crew who was able to come in there and go, okay, we're producing all these different things. Now let's figure out a poker show, and here's the angles, and here's what, and let's not cut back on any expenses. Let's do the best. Yep. And then like, okay, we want the best people. And in our opinion, like we went after the best commentators that were available to us, and we're willing to go get them versus just have like some guy grinding down there who knows how to call a hand down for free, or maybe get him in a game and just trade and barter. We just decided, no, let's put together, let's get Bart, let's get Tuckman, let's get Billy, let's put these, let's put these beasts in the booth and do that. And then we did this. And so it's like we never put together a poker show, but we had everyone who had a good component. Like I had, like he mentioned, the business background. So I have that. I know that advertising has to be monetized. We know how to monetize this. We know why you have to be compliant this way and do this. So that's all the stuff that I brought to the table, knowing how to put those pieces together. Again, Ryan putting together like this Picasso of lineups and this production of, and again, that's the other piece. When Ryan puts together a lineup, the players can depend on it. Like they're not going to show up 3 times in a row to some bullshit lineup that they were told differently. And that's why, like, there's other places that now have put a ton of money into this thing, and they just, for whatever reason, I believe that the people involved aren't as vested as we have been invested in this thing to make it the best ever. That's just my opinion. And when you put that kind of breath into anything in your life, whether it's a relationship or a business or any type of thing, and you put that into it, and you just refuse to be second, then you're just going to be.
We also, like, over time, even before we started the show, kind of built a family of just players that we just like, and they're just part of our crew. And this goes back a couple of years, like, and then really got strong during the pandemic, I think, me and Nick, because we knew we wanted to do something special. But we had already had like a group of people that we were just close with, right? Like I'd say at the beginning of the pandemic, there was like 20 of us or so that we talked all the time. We'd play casino, other places, whatever. Like we group chats, right?
Yeah, online.
And then online during the pandemic, and then it kind of just evolved. And I think the difference between, there's a lot of differences, but the one difference between us and other places, other poker organizers, is that like, we actually like these people. We're actually friends with them. It's not just us trying to like convince them to go play poker so that we could take their money or something. Like, we just want to put together good games, and we actually hang out with these people. So, like we've had, I don't know, like Christmas party or whatever party at Nick's house,
Christmas,
or whatever. No, actually no, it was before Christmas. But yeah, we had like a party, and we've had like dinners. We've gone out to eat after we play or something. Like, we do things. We like actually hang out with them. Like, we actually like these people and consider them good friends.
We all look forward to coming together on that stage. And coming into that casino. It's a brotherhood. It's a family. Like, we really like these people.
One more thing I've noticed, it's the meme culture that you guys get. Like, other places are a little bit buttoned up. Like Poker Go is a very like proper produced show. You guys have, you guys produced a song for Life is Blef. And you guys have like people wearing Life is Blef stuff, and then Never Fold. I'm assuming that's Hustler Casino gear. And so you have like everyone wearing your gear, and you've got like these cool little, taglines that like other places. Yeah,
people just like the fans and the players just love that stuff. Like, they just think it's cool and they love it. Like,
it's a movement.
They're like, it really is. Like, it's just all one big family. Like, these like chat pros, or whatever we call, that's like another thing we say. Chat pros. Like, there's people we've never met, and they feel like they're part of our family. So when they come meet us finally, it's like they know us, right? Like, we have this big group, like a cult following, and we have like all these players that play at Hustler that come up to us, and we have the players that actually play, and they want to wear our gear, and they just want to be a part of it. And I mean, there's so many thousands of people that are just loyal followers in the chat every single day, no matter what the game is. And that's just hard to build. And that's because of the consistency, and that's because of just the fun atmosphere we create. Going back to what Nick was saying about the best commentators and all of that, it's funny. I remember just reminisce. It's cool to like reminisce and think about like conversations we had. And I think one time I sent you like texts that we had just
right at the beginning.
It's kind of like it's like a in a way, if you ever see like on Twitter, like the freezing takes expose, or you know what that is. Well, it's like a sports thing where they like someone tweets something from a long time ago and then they like show it to show like how wrong the person was, or compare or be like, oh, like Tom Brady's done, you know, like 6 years ago or something, like some reporter said.
Yeah.
Anyway, not quite like that, but it's just funny to reminisce on things that we talked about before we started, right? And I don't think you'll care about me saying this stuff, but I just think it's cool to think about, like, we would have texts, right, where we kind of had our plan, but again, it wasn't like a thoroughly written out business plan or anything like that at the beginning. It was just like, this is what me and Nick believe is going to be how we're going to be successful, and Nick had a lot of faith in me and I had a lot of faith in Nick, and let's just do this, right? Like, let's just crush it. But even as we're like getting it started and we're getting the control room built and all of that, we just kind of like are figuring out as we go along, right? Whatever the cost is, like, let's just do it. But I remember steps along the way where Nick would be like, hey, like, he would send me a text and be like, hey, are you sure we're going to make money from this? Like, are you sure I'm not just, right?
Yeah. And so, and to even make that even more clear, it was like we both had the desire, the passion, and really the belief. He's overplaying a little bit of the text, but that's okay because I did say those things, but whatever, right? Like, it's true. It was like,
no, that was just you being,
yeah, it was just
being the safe guy, like the business guy who's like, hey, like, I don't want this to just be fun. Like, I know we're gonna crush it,
that's right.
But how do we turn this into? Because you knew we would have like the best show,
of course.
But that's not the point. The point is, how do we turn it into profit?
Right.
Because no one else in poker streaming has ever been able to make it into a real business.
How it went like is that it went like that, and then this was the added part too that we would discuss, and I would say to him, because we were so, like he said, we're so different, we're so alike in our mission, but we're different, and I'm like, okay, look, just like what he said, I go, here's the thing, like, I get the art of this, okay? And yes, we got to just go and get it and get everything. But I've been in business for 30 years, and I know that if you just throw spaghetti against the wall, you're only one piece is going to stick, and it's like might not be enough. Like, so it's like, okay, dude, slow down. Like, I get it. We'll spend as much as we need to spend. I'm good with that. 300, 500, whatever. Let's go. But slow your fucking horses, because we gotta have a budget. I have to know the monthly overhead, like what you think. Do we need a director, a producer? How much are the comms? Let's put this together. Let's sit down and like plan this out. And then, you know, there's that investment capital, and then there's this, and then like we have to have an estimate if we're gonna open this up to a free model. Like, how do we monetize here? How do we monetize? So it was really not a really good blueprint, because there really couldn't be one, right? Because we had to wing it. It hasn't
been done before.
No, yeah. And we had to wing it, but what we were saying is like I had to pull the reins a little bit to say we have to still be a business, because here's the reality.
But that's just your role. Like, you have to, because like if you don't, I'm just gonna like not make it too profitable.
That's right. So like that's what I mean. Like if it was just like me saying, yeah, dude, here's this like empty check, like just go, it might not have worked, because like there has to be the business practices.
I would have hired like John Madden and Marv Albert to commentate or something.
And so we just had that good balance of like, if you want to be the best, I get it. But if you want to be the best and do this for 10 years, it has to work.
Right.
Like, the numbers have to work. And I even would say this to him. I said, I'm even okay if we break fucking even
for like a year or something.
I don't care. I got enough money.
We can't lose
it's
a lot.
Just that we can't go lose, you know, $30,000, $40,000 a month and just say, but it's okay, because we have the greatest poker show in the world, because you're not going to have it very long.
Yeah.
And so those were the kind of conversations we were having.
That's exactly right.
He'd push, I'd pull, he'd push. But
I heard you guys used to get into big fights.
Dude, we still get into not big fights, but we get into arguments where like there are arguments, and then like literally like he comes to his senses or I come to my senses, and I'm like, okay, there's been times where like, oh, you're fucking right, and whatever, and then I'm like,
I think we've gotten better at it though.
We are getting better. We
like I think we both have figured out, I mean, just like any relationship with reasonable people who work together and are successful, like eventually you kind of figure out traits. Like, we're closer now because we're working together so much, right? Than a few years ago. And I think we understand like how to say things the right way and how to like.
Yeah, we had some.
We're also learning those things.
We had some communication.
Because we don't, our personalities are not even close to the same, really, right?
No.
Like, we have different traits, but I've understood,
open-minded,
how do I say this to get this across, convince him of this? And then I think him the same way, like, because we've definitely had, not many, like a couple little heated moments, but like within an hour, like, we're good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's never been, like, there's never been one smidge where
We
I've
never went
walked
to
away,
sleep upset or something.
Yeah, where I've walked away even after you said we're good, where I'm like, I'm still kind of not good, but I have to be good. I'm like, we're good. Like, we both have the ability to eventually, like, I get him. And I think he's now getting me, and we just have to try to figure out what that dance is because we're so different in how we communicate.
I think a part of it is, a lot of it is just we respect each other and what we're doing. We also both respect the idea that, like, hey, this is working. Like, we're crushing it. Like, why would we argue?
Yeah. What are we going to do?
Yeah,
like,
literally, like...
Let's be Van Halen and break up.
I think at the beginning... At the beginning, if I was, like, you know, like, for example, like, I think at the beginning, Nick just was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I want to be a part of everything. Like, I want to do this. I want to do that. And if I was like, hey, but... you know, we got to do this to make this great or whatever. And he'd be like, whoa, but I really want to do it. But I think at this point now he's like, all right, I see that this is working and like, this is good. So whatever I would like to do a lot, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And I think same thing, like Nick is just doing so much like in business, like, I don't know, since I would say January or something, he's been like crushing advertising, making these deals, like doing all these behind the scenes things that people don't see. And like, I don't even have to like ask him. He just comes to me and like, hey, we got this. I'm like, okay, great. Like we're like,
he's very proactive.
He goes back to the easel with his paint and he's like, line up for Friday.
So, like it's working. So we both understand that. And we're just going to keep grinding and working hard. And like, there's no, like, I think you mentioned earlier, like we're not settling. We're not like, okay, we're here. So we're good. Like, no, like, I don't even know what the end is, you know, like we're just going to keep going. This is only year one. Like, I can't imagine where we're going to be at in year 4 because we're always, I think we're going to be passionate about this for a long time.
I have a feeling we will because I know how much you love it, and I'm having the time of my life with the whole process of it.
I might need a vacation for a week at some point.
I don't like to travel.
You'll vacation under the desk of the tech room.
We might need to hire more people so I could like take off.
Yeah, you don't need a vacation. You're good.
Yeah.
So
I'll be there.
You're good, bro.
I can work 7 days.
You're doing what you love.
I can work 7 days a week, no problem.
Yeah. Were you going to be a lazy partner?
You know that quote?
So let me ask you, and I hope this isn't too obvious to the people watching, but we might learn something new. Like, what kind of characteristics are good for players that for the poker show, and like, what things do you see that are like you don't want that to be a part of Hustler Casino Live?
I mean, I think most of the things are pretty obvious to the people that get streaming, but I mean, one, you're saying just what am I looking for when we're trying to recruit a player?
What are you looking for in players? Because I think there's people who want to be on the show, and
Sure.
I don't want to ask you like who will you never allow on the show?
I have that question here.
He does have. I
have that question. Who's a player or two that will just never play on our show, even if they were good for our show?
I don't want to point anyone out, but that's
no. I mean, you know those people are. I don't want to say.
I don't know anybody.
You say it.
I could say what types of people they are.
Oh, you just want to say the types? I just didn't know if you knew.
I mean, the type of people that would never be on our show is either like, well, the only people that like for sure would never be on our show is like people that me and Nick just like don't like because they're like actual bad people or like did something that makes them like never going to be in with us, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, or someone that's like an actual like scam artist, you know, like that did something so bad that if we put them on our show, no matter how bad they are at poker, that we would look bad. You know, that type of thing. Or they like affected somebody else that we care about in the community, you know, that type of thing. Because we do care about the community and we want to, you know, obviously it's poker and like, you know, if someone's bad at really bad or really action or really great for the show, but they have this thing they did, like depending on what it is or the, you know, the effect of it, like we might still let them play because it's poker and like there's going to be some sketchy people sometimes. But if it's so bad, then, you know, we're just like, hey, we cannot have this person on the show, right?
Yeah.
That's really the people that would never be. But
what kind of characteristics are you looking for, though?
So I think there's a few things that we're looking for when we're looking for players on the show, like new players to bring in, okay? I think number one, we're looking for fun action players that will like play a lot of hands. There'll be action. They'll put a lot of money in the pot. They're not there to play poker for a living. They're just trying to like play fun and be in a fun environment.
Yeah.
Basically, they're contributing to the show, contributing to the game, right? Like we don't want tight pros that are just like trying to make a living, trying to make a profit. They're not playing any hands. They're
not
tight.
talking.
They're sniping, so to speak. They're not talking. They're waiting for aces. Like we don't want that.
Do you guys have a no headphones, no sunglasses kind of rule?
Well, no headphones for sure, because there's no electronics. Like nothing that's even remotely electronic can be on the stage. we allow sunglasses. We thought about at the beginning not doing that, but so many people like sunglasses for whatever weird reasons, like Nick. So
Well, because even right
these are
now,
prescription.
these lights
Yeah,
are
yeah.
not even as light as ours,
No, I
and
know.
these are
But you
prescription.
know what I mean when I
Sure,
mean
sure.
we
Sure.
realized
yeah.
after a while that like we don't have many pros on our show, so the sunglasses would like we don't want pros with sunglasses, right? But like we barely have any pros that even play in the games regularly, so they're fine. But yeah, we're looking for people that contribute to the show and contribute to the environment. And so how do you contribute to the entertainment of the show? Well, you're either like action and fun and fun for a private game environment, or you have like a great personality, right? Or you have like a huge following where like you bring something to the table in terms of people that want to watch that person play, whether it's a poker person or an outside poker person. So we also want like influencers. So those are the kind of things we're looking for. We're not like, in my opinion, I think really good, solid, fundamental pros are a dime a dozen. There's a million of them out there, right, in poker. Okay, why do they deserve to be on the show, right? They're not bringing a ton of viewership. They're not like contributing to the fun and action of the game, right? If they don't have some incredible personality and following, then like why do you deserve a spot on our show? And I think there's so many of them that are similar, and that's why a lot of times we don't have a lot of those type of guys on the show where other shows might, because that's not what the average viewer wants to see, and that's definitely not what our player pool wants to play with, right? So we have a great network of like non-pros, business people. I mean, LA is a great area for that, and we kind of just use our network to keep meeting new people and expanding. And we just want to have fun games where everybody has a chance to win. We want every player to show up and be like, well, I can beat this guy, and this guy. Like, I have a chance to win. We don't want people to show up and be like, I'm the worst. I can't beat this super pro. We don't want that. And we want the game to be social. I think that just the people we have make the game social. But I think also the fact that from day one we made a no electronic, no cell phone policy also made the game even more social, because what are you going to do when you're sitting at the table if you can't look at your phone? Well, you're going to have to talk, right? So, and then also we have like this great audio, the mic system, so that you can hear those conversations and it's like you're watching a reality show. So yeah, I think those are the things we're looking for in players. And there's no like perfect formula, but those are the factors that we look for because there's a million people that reach out to us all the time that want to play, and it's hard to filter through all those people. And sometimes we just take a chance, right? Someone sends me on Twitter DM or whatever, hey, I want to play. I said, okay. I asked them a bunch of questions like, what do you do for work? What's your background? How your poker experience? What stakes do you play? Whatever. I just asked them a bunch of random questions, just see how they answer them. Based on their answers, I'll either be like, you know what? I have a good feeling about this person. I'm going to give him a chance. Or I'm just like, no, like this guy's some poker pro who's just trying to like make money in our game, right? So give them a chance. They come in, and I would say less than 50% of the time are they like a hit where they're like, oh wow, this guy's gonna be a regular. He's a great addition, right?
A lot of times when I was doing commentary on a live stream, people would overpromise action,
No,
and
all
then
the
they'd
time.
show up and they were
course.
like,
because everyone wants their one chance, and it's like
Yeah.
they know we're getting hundreds
They
of
just
requests.
sit
So
there on their
how
chips.
do they get in? Right, but we give them a chance. Like there's 5 days a week, so there's going to be one day, usually at some point where we have a spot for somebody, even though we have a lot of guys that want to play. And so once in a while, one of those guys is, we give them a chance, and they are like a guy that sticks. Like I mean, there's a bunch I can think of off the top of my head that kind of just connected with us, and we give them one chance, and now they're just regulars.
Wesley was one of them.
Yeah, well, Wesley's one that just showed up at Hustler one day, and yeah, but he's kind of an example, right?
How'd you find Mike X?
At Hustler, he just came up to me at Hustler one day. He's like, he was playing there, and he's like, hey, I'd like to take a chance. And sometimes I'll admit, sometimes I look at somebody and like stereotype if I think they should, if I want to give them a chance or not to play in the game, right? I mean, if you've never seen them play before, how do you know if you should give someone a shot or not, right? Well, sometimes you just take a chance based on your hunch, talking to them, asking them questions, whether it's online or in person. What is this person's personality? What's their background? Whatever. and you just give them a chance. And,
well, let me ask you this, since we're talking about players and personalities and egos and who you have to manage, who, in your opinion, are the toughest couple of players to manage and why? As far as, I mean, you have to answer a couple tough questions, and let me tell you why, because the people watching don't want softball questions. I know you hate to answer, but just like do the best you can. I mean, so what? Like
toughest
yeah,
people.
like
there's the easiest people are to manage.
Are you worried about saying who they are, or you just don't know who they are? Like the toughest people to manage as far as like our regular players, like for whatever reason, whatever, it could be anything.
I mean, you can just ask, I don't know, you can ask me a question like, is this person tough to manage? And I could give you my answer,
Yeah.
but I can't think of like I know who you're trying to get me to say, but like.
I'm really not trying to get you to say anyone. I don't have anyone in my mind. I don't know.
See,
You don't have to answer. If you don't have anyone difficult to manage, then let's move
if
on.
they were that difficult to manage, like, first of all, if someone was that difficult to manage, they'd have to contribute so much to the show to make it worth it for them.
If you think I'm trying to get you to say Garrett, I'm not.
Okay.
Is that who you thought?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. Yeah.
What? No, not at all. Garrett plays every week. He's fine.
Sweetest angel.
I'm saying,
how could you even?
What I'm saying is that.
Okay, how about this? Have you ever had a tough time managing Armenian Mike when he was playing?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay,
you
see what I'm saying? So it's
no,
really
no,
not a
that's
trick
what I'm saying.
question.
I couldn't think of like who you were trying to.
It's not a trick question. It was just like because the viewers want to know idiosyncrasies.
You're talking about joke bet. Joke bet Armenian.
So Armenian Mike, when he used to play,
that's what I was trying to get you to kind of say.
Oh, I couldn't even forgot about him, but he would like want to play all the time. He'd want to like have a seat no matter if it was last minute, and just like he'd want me. He didn't care about like, oh, I already have 9 people. He didn't care. He's like, I don't care. You know, he wanted a certain seat. He would leave early from the show sometimes. You know, he would want so many different things. And did I like having him on the show because he's such a unique character and because he was like just a mainstay that
out
like,
of his mind?
Yeah, and like he's just, even though people would complain about him, like I'm just like, I know that he adds value to these games. Like he fills a seat that we need to be filled. But yeah, it became really difficult after a while. But I still have like a soft spot for him, and I still did, and I still do. If he ever wanted to come back, he could play. You know, I'd be like, well, you can come back, but you got to do this, this, and this. But you know, when he was like at his best, like his best personality, like he was awesome. Like he would show up in all our gear. Like I remember one day he sent me or someone sent me a picture of him. He was at the bike, or no, I think he took a picture and showed me. He was at the bike and he wore all of our gear playing in a game there.
Hustler Casino Live.
But dude, he would show up to our show wearing a hat, a shirt, a hoodie, everything of our gear, right, without me ever asking. And like when he was in a good mood, he was like awesome.
Yeah, but if he wasn't in a good mood,
he wasn't in a good mood. He was a little tough to deal with. So yeah, that's a good one. Honestly, I can't think of that many people that are difficult.
That's good enough.
Like what I was saying is that if somebody is difficult to deal with, I think that they have to be well worth it, or else they just wouldn't be playing, right? And so Armenian Mike, I think, was well worth it, although sometimes we question that. And so if anyone's ever like, well, I want the lineup to be this, or well, you know, I want these requests or this seat or whatever, like a random person isn't gonna just demand I want this seat every day, or a random person's not gonna be like, well, I'm only playing if this guy's not playing. Like you have to be a really important person to our games or to our show, and so the only people that are ever even remotely difficult are important to the games, because if not, I'm just gonna be like,
of course you're gonna put up with someone who's more difficult.
Yeah, but I would say there are a couple people that are like super valuable, big characters, important to our show, that are like the easiest people ever to deal with, right?
Right.
And I'll just tell you, like, one is like Wesley. Wesley's like literally like, yeah, I mean, these days he's like might select lineups a little bit, like just because he like understands the game a little bit more, but he never like demands anything. He he just wants to play all the time. If I ever tell him like, hey, I don't have a seat for you, like, sorry.
Where was he this week?
Oh, San Francisco. He's up there for a week. But he's like, he never is like mad if I say like, hey, I don't have a seat for you, sorry. He's like, okay, no problem. You know, he like, there's never any issues with like money. He just shows up with a ton of money every day. Like, I don't like we talked about that earlier in another one of our podcasts. We're like, it's the weirdest dichotomy. Poker players don't bring money to poker games. Yeah, but he shows up with like, if he lost $200K the day before, shows up with $100K the next day. It's amazing. No issues. Like he never cancels really. He like promotes our show. He tweets about it every day. You know, he like always there. Like sometimes he's late, but no big deal. Like he always communicates. Like he's always in a good mood. I'm not saying he's perfect. Like once in a while, he like I don't feel good and he leaves early or something. But like for how big he's gotten and for how much he's contributed to our show, he understands that like our show's helped him too. And he's actually like people won't believe this because maybe because people just see like the social media stuff he posts to get famous or whatever, but he's actually like in reality, like behind the scenes, is actually like super humble and like just down to earth. Like he actually is. Like I think I just thinking of going to conversation with him. Like one day, he told me early in the week, like, yeah, I'll play this day, and Friday, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. So Friday's our most important show each week, right, in terms of viewership. So we promoted him. We had the thumbnail was like him, Garrett, Andy, or whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. And, or maybe it was just, I think this was before Andy came back. So him and Garrett, let's say, on the thumbnail, right? And we have this game together. And I don't have like, on Fridays a lot of time, I don't have like an overabundance of people for Fridays, right? And so every player, especially the big name characters, are like really important because if one of them falls off, I might be like six-handed. And we can't do that, right? So Wesley, this was like at a time where Wesley was like peaking in terms of popularity, and he had committed for Friday early in the week. So now he plays like every day that week. We get closer to Friday, and Friday he's like, we're like a day before, and he's like, oh, I'm not gonna play tomorrow. And I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, you said you were in. Like, come on, man. And I like really needed him because it
was one of those spots.
He was really important.
He was a key component.
Right?
Yeah,
sometimes it's not a big deal, but for that week it was.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm like, dude, I really need you to play tomorrow. Like, we already promoted you. We put the thumbnail out. We've been promoting you. Like, this is going to be a huge show. This was like one week where we had like a sick lineup like with him on it. And I'm like, we really need you in this game. It's going to be huge viewership. And he's like, I don't know. I'm kind of tired, whatever. And I'm like, please, just like show up.
Please. I'm like, now we find out how he can build these lineups.
I'm like,
please.
I'm like, even if you're late, like whatever, just like play. Like, I don't care how much you buy in, just play, just show up. I need you to just show up. And he like wasn't fond of it, but he was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll come. I'll let you know. And I'm like, look, I feel bad even asking you. Like, you've done so much for our show. Like, you've done so much, in terms of just like being here all the time, being loyal, like all of that. Like, you've done so much for us. Yeah. Because I have to I can't make it one side. I have to get these guys to understand that we do appreciate them. Of course. Especially someone like that. And I'm like, look, you play in every lineup. I know that. Like, you'll play in tough lineups, soft lineups. Like, you're here all the time, Tuesdays, Fridays. Like, we do appreciate it, and I really feel bad even having to like ask, like beg you to play. It's just that Friday's important, and we already promoted you. And he's like, no, like I get it. He's like, you don't have to like say that. He's like, you help me. He's like, you help me out, I help you out. Like it's mutual. He like understood it. He's like, it's mutual. Like I help your show. Like you help me get famous. Like. I appreciate it too. Like you don't have to say that. He's like, I appreciate you guys. And he's like, I know you guys do a lot for me too. And I'm like, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate, so I'm saying like, he's really cool in that regard. And people maybe in the public don't realize that he's, and I think he's evolved a lot.
He puts off a different persona.
I think like you had a couple conversations with him where you really got to him and got him to understand a couple things. And he's really evolved as a poker player and a person. Yeah. I think he's been a different person the last couple of months. He's been way more humble and way more like caring. And, he says thank you to people. And he's like very cool and just doesn't really talk trash anymore. And he's just kind of there to play. And he's kind of like getting it. So he's one where it's kind of cool to but anyway, my original point was just that he's an example of someone that's actually been really easy to deal with compared to how big profile he's gotten in terms of, like he's one of the, like when we did the All-Star vote, he was had the second most votes, right? Yeah. But he's just super easy to deal with. So totally. I think that's cool. But I think that most of the people we have in our group are like really easy to deal with. Mm-hmm. They just love our show and they just love our games and they want to show up every week. There's very few people, to answer your question, that are like actually even remotely tough to deal with. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask what you guys see Hustler Casino Live being in like a year or 5 years. What's the projection for you?
We could say a few different things, but I think really like, at least this is how I think, and I don't know if Nick's maybe a little different, but
we've never had this discussion.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like I don't really like come up, me personally, like, I don't really come up with like a plan and like this is what we want to be, this is what we want to do. Like, there's no specific goals. Like, even when we first started, we never said we want to have this many subscribers by this date, we want to make this much money by this date, or anything like that. We just kind of do it and just do what we think is right and put together the best show possible and keep trying to think of new ideas of how do we evolve. Like, there's no specific plan. And I don't think that's even changing that much right now. Now, we have ideas. Like, I have ideas in my mind, like, I want to get this person, this show, right? But when that happens, whenever it happens, it happens. We really just want to, like, keep having the best show in poker and just keep crushing it and just, as long as it's a passion for both of us, we're just going to keep doing it. I think both of us have a lot of ideas of how to evolve and how to make it even better, but we're not like rushing to get there. You know, we could be on, like, we're never going to not be on YouTube, but we could be on TV. We could do something there.
Yeah.
We could, you know, have like big business sponsorship stuff. We could bring in like really big names outside of poker, but when it happens, it happens. And we're not going to like panic or rush, you know, because also, if we hit all of our goals like too quick, then what else are we going to achieve? So, you know, I think this is a really long-term business. And it's funny, like when we first started, when we had like Tom Dwan and Phil Ivey, right? That was 2-3 months into our show.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, where do we go from here? Like, we're 3 months in and we already have like the biggest names in poker. Like, what do we do next? Like,
Yeah.
Like, is this a thing where we're just going to hit every goal in like a year and then we're just going to like, but no, I realize now, like, there's so many things we can do that we haven't even gotten to yet. And we have such a great opportunity with everything we have, like how great the casino is, you know, how great the people are that involved that are helping us produce this show, the network of players we have, the growth we've had in terms of viewership and all of that. I think that the like possibilities are actually endless. No other poker streamer, poker show has really had over like a certain amount of viewership or popularity, right? I think that we're showing that a little over a year in, having 170,000 subscribers and having like consistently like 10 to 20,000 viewers a show already shows that like we can do anything. Like, is it possible that we could one day we could have 100,000 subscribers like every Friday? I mean, 100,000, viewers every Friday, concurrent. Is it possible that we could have 1 million subscribers? Like, who's to say that we can't do that, right? It might take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I don't know. But there's no reason for us to like set goals or set limitations for what we're doing. We're just going to keep crushing it, and whatever happens, happens, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas as to how to get it into the mainstream? Because that, I think getting 1 million subscribers means that.
Yeah, I think Nick probably has some ideas.
Yeah, I can maybe give you a little feedback too on that question.
We're interviewing Ryan, but please.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
This is the Veronica, Brill, and Ryan Feldman show with Nick Vertucci.
No, go ahead.
Or Valerie, or whatever you call her.
Leave a little air in the room there.
Don't get him started.
Leave a little air in the room, Valerie. All right. So, so my answer's a lot like Ryan's, and as a partner, I'll never contradict him. I'll just add to it. Okay. And I get what he's saying, and because he's an artist and that's how he looks at things. I look at things from like a business focus, and I will agree with the fact that we are always going to stay passionate. We are always going to stay free. We are always going to do this for the love of it, because I'm having, like he is, the time of my life. And but I do think that the iron is hot, and because the iron is hot, that is you gain momentum, and the momentum we've gained over the last 12 months is something that you want to get a backdraft of and continue the momentum. And so for us, and for me on my end of it, what I see is that the Hustler Casino brand, or the High Stakes Poker Productions, or whoever we do that with, I don't ever see us not working with this casino. If we all stay on the same path, I think that we will always be here. But with that said, our show, I can see going into other parts of the world. And that's happening now, where we're making an attempt to do that with some agreements that we have. And we want Hustler. See, right now, Hustler...
You're alluding to the Chinese market.
The Chinese,
right now,
Taiwan, Hong Kong, different places that there's going to be where our product is going to be put on display and going to be put on display in that language. And so because there is such a, the United States is so big and such a great, we love poker and there's, such a passion for it, but at the same time, there's a passion for this in other countries and at least even to watch. In some of the countries we mentioned, it's illegal. You can't play poker, but you can watch it. And YouTube does not go out to those reaches because in countries, YouTube's, you have to be a Chinese company to have any business. So you have to make relationships with Chinese companies. And so there's a bunch of channels there in different countries that I believe are hungry. Even now we have viewership from other countries and it's just so surreal.
Actually, I was looking at the numbers that more than half of our viewership is outside of the U.S.
Yes.
It's like we're only like 48 or 49%
What are the prominent
U.S.
countries?
None of them are more than like 5 or 6% on average, but South Korea, so I think it's Canada, it's Canada's 2, and then UK and South Korea are like almost even.
Mm-hmm.
So
the thing I just
South
posted
Korea
has
one's
it.
interesting. No, that's what I was looking at.
The analytics that I just posted on Twitter has it.
That's what I was looking at. So South Korea, and then what's the other? Oh, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's funny. I've looked at some of the numbers on individual streams, and I mean, this obviously makes sense, but it shows you the top 5 each stream. And it's funny how, like, based on certain people in the lineup, those countries will pop up. So when Andy plays, Taiwan shows up in the top 5. If he doesn't play, it's not. When Rusuke was playing, Japan would show up in the top 5. Right. If he's not playing, it doesn't. So it's kind of cool seeing those things based on people from other countries playing on our show.
And when this show is shown in these other countries on platforms that are not YouTube, that are only legal in that country, they are going to have commentary and everything in that language.
Yeah.
So it's going to bring so many more people to the show because now we're all cliche, we're speaking their language, but we're speaking their language. And so for the show, I think in any business, it's like this. The more eyes you get on your product and the more demand for your product, the more your product's worth. Whether that is from a buyer, whether that's from advertisers, whether that's for an end game. So that's always should be your goal as a business is to focus on that, and then the rest comes. We're going to be producing shows that we're going to be packaged for TV, and we want to explore that, although we are probably more passionate about the free YouTube type of concept, but there's no reason we can't be on other platforms than we are. So the way I'd answer the question, which is the same as Ryan in the same sense that we want to do this for a very, very long time. You don't know, we couldn't have told you in a year that we would accomplish what we have, even though we were going to try to accomplish something like this, and we did it. But this momentum and this backdraft and backwind that we have, I think is going to take us even further faster, and with some of these moves that we're making. So our goal is to have as many eyes on this show around the world as we can. The rest comes later. The value of your company comes later. The value of your advertisement goes up. The value of this. But if you just continue to add to the production and to make that crisper and better and build your player bases and build more characters and have the best commentary and have this, and you just keep building that, then all these components are going to fall into place. And then you can really just decide, like, do you want to just do this for the next 15 years and because you love it and we have all this that we're getting from it, or do you want to in 10 years sell it for millions of dollars maybe and possibly still stay on and still do what you love? Like, that's the thing. Success breeds options, and the only way you have options is to continue to make this successful. So that's where our paths cross perfectly, is that we're just going to continue to build the best show and do what we do with a passion, and the rest will come. But as far as I'm concerned, my eye is totally on the business end of that and putting us in the position to have whatever options we want.
Yeah, it's funny, like Phil said something, we were talking on the phone, how we would like ask
Phil Hellmuth,
about like something about like, oh well, if this company, or if someone offered you this amount right now, like, wouldn't you take it? And I'm just like, no, Phil, like the amount of money that someone would at least is my opinion, right? Like from my perspective, obviously, but if like some company came to us right now or even a year from now and was like, we're going to give you X amount, the amount would have to be such an absurd amount over what our actual value is right now.
What's your number?
That like,
what's your number?
Everyone's got a price.
Everyone's got a number. What is it? What's your number where you could say, I don't care how passionate I am, I actually got to do it?
Well, he'll start another show with that money.
I mean,
no, you can't. You
could ask me, and would you? I mean, I just obviously it would have to be like okay, I'll tell you this.
He's such a politician. This is he won't give us the number.
If someone came to us and said, "We'll pay you $10 million for your company right now," I would say, "Hell no." Like, so I don't know what the number is, but like that wouldn't be it.
I agree. That wouldn't be it for me.
Because first of all, like I know what we're going to be worth when we're not done with this, but when we get to like the peak of where we want to go. Okay.
Yeah.
And that has to be, it's going to be a massive number based on our projection of how we've, our trajectory of how we've gone in the first year. Right. And like, I know no matter what, we're going to be successful. And if we ever decide to like sell to some big company, which me personally, I don't have any plan to do anytime soon, because this is like all I want to do. This isn't like,
but you're like 20 and I'm 100.
Yeah, this is, I get it. But this is not.
I'm kidding. I'm in for the long haul.
Yeah, you're not 20. No. I mean, you're not.
No,
you're not
100.
You're like 57.
You are 100.
What are you, 56?
Yeah.
56?
Yeah.
But like, you're probably older than that. But
At a 0.
no, but
That's
seriously,
my weight.
like in reality, like people don't believe it sometimes when I constantly say this. Like I've said this to Phil. We're having these conversations. Like, yes, we're making money. Yes, we're doing great. No question about that, right?
Yeah.
Because we're doing it the right way.
Right.
But that's not the number one reason why at least me personally, why I know you're more of like a business guy than I am, but
No.
why I'm
We're
doing
on the
this.
same page.
We're doing it because we love this and we actually want to be number one in this industry and we want to keep crushing it. We want to keep evolving it. Like we love the idea of that we're crushing it and we can turn on the stream every day and see so many people in the chat. We're like, how are there so many people here? It makes no sense, you know? And like, here's our next big idea. Let's do it. And no one else is doing these things. Like we love it. Like we love crushing it and being so far ahead of the competition. And we're going to keep doing that. That's why we're doing it. Like we love to have something that we're the best at. Me and Nick are both really competitive, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're hugging sometimes and the very big moments, like when like we have like the 16-hour show.
did,
And it's,
yeah.
It's like, fuck, bro, come on, man, this is awesome.
What do you
like,
say
you know
to
what
your-
I mean? Like, this is important to us.
But what do you say to your staff? Like, hey, we're staying here all night. Like, you guys buckle down.
Everyone knows why they're there. And like everyone, so when we were there all night, like after a certain amount of hours, I just said to them like, hey guys, like, are you guys okay? Like, I don't think we should ever like stop, but like, if there's a certain point that you want to, like, just tell me and we can like stop. And like, basically we dismissed a couple people throughout the night and there was 3 of us left at the end, doing it. So we like stepped up in our roles. So we were, you know, I went and did audio and Brian went and did graphics. And so, but I just said to the guys that were left, I said, hey, like, we can end at a certain point. It's up to you. And they were both like, no, I'm not going anywhere. Like, this is important. This is special. Like, they understood the moment. But I said them to many times, listen, like, we will, if you guys don't want to keep going, we can end. It's fine. Like, we can't do it without you guys. But earlier in the night, I'm like, if you want to leave, it's fine. Like one of our guys was like, at one point just started falling asleep. I'm just like, you can go home. Like, we're good. We got so many people here working.
And then Bart stayed until his flight.
Yeah. But then we had Kyle doing the roaming cam, and then Kyle stepped up and did like everyone understood the moment and wanted to be there. That's why we're so successful, because those guys just love it and they understand that, like, screw it. Like, we don't need to sleep. Like, how many times are we ever going to be able to have this moment where we're doing a 16-hour 400, 800 game with these guys? Like, it's, but going back to what Nick said, where we're saying, yeah, like, we're doing this because we love it, and whatever happens. Like, we're not like trying to get to a certain value so we could sell it to a big company. Like, that's not our goal. Like, will that happen one day, 10 years from now? I have no idea. But even if that did happen, I'm pretty sure if they offered us some absurd amount, I'd still be like, hey, I'm only doing it if you also let me still run the show, because I actually enjoy this and love it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, no offense to everyone else in the world, but I wouldn't have faith in anyone else to do it to the same level, you know? Like, I actually enjoy this. Now, maybe 5 years from now, I want to like scale back and like work on more of like the bigger shows and the bigger projects and not be like in the control room 10 hours a day. But like, this is something like, it's not like I want to, like, some people run a business so that they can sell it and then start a new business in a new field, right? Like, a lot of people do that, right? Like, you had a tech business, right? You sold it. You went and did real estate.
No, I lost it. Went broke.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, let's just pretend you sold it for a lot of money.
do it, yeah.
Okay, but I'm saying, like, there's people in business in general that sell a business so they can do another business. They can do another business, right? Because they're just business people, right?
Sure,
like,
yeah.
That's
They're
not
always
us.
looking for the next
That's
venture,
not us.
the next leapfrog.
You're
yeah.
semi-retired. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
This is the only thing I ever care about. Like, I never want to move on to anything else.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we can, we're going to do this for a long time until we're both just, like, completely burnout.
That's
I
the
agree.
secret sauce.
Yeah.
That is the
That's
secret
what it
sauce.
is.
we don't have an exit plan. Like,
the fire in your belly for
Yeah.
this. That's the secret sauce.
so yeah, like honestly, if some person came and offered us an amount right now, we'd just be like, no. That would just be a compliment though, because we'd be like, okay, well, we know we're worth at least that. That's
Yeah.
cool. But
Yeah.
it's not the
I'll
point.
give you guys $20 for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
Yeah.
$20 is $20.
Yeah. But you got to
Is
prepay.
that like 50%
Yeah,
stake?
no payment plan.
Yeah, maybe there's some
like
other
over the course of
maybe
5
there's
years.
some-
Never mind. I
Over the
wanted
course
to-
of what, 3 years?
Hey, maybe there's some other streams where that's worth 1/10%, but not
Hey,
ours.
look at you, bang,
Hey,
bang.
shots fired.
Bang, bang from Ryan Feldman. Ryan, I have a question, serious question. Are you gay?
Stop.
Answer the question, yes or no?
No, I'm
Okay,
not
thank
interested
you.
in you either.
Okay. All right.
He's genuinely asking because he thinks you're hot.
Why
He
is
told
that
me.
question on the list?
He was like,
I don't know. It came
Ryan
to my
is-
mind, and like I
is
just
a hot piece of ass.
I
Do you
just
think-
always wanted to really ask.
Do you think if I asked him-
just because I worked 300 hours a week and don't have time doesn't mean that I'm
Just because
interested.
you work
in,
up in
not
a hot
interested.
room with 5 guys?
he
Oh yeah, I guess there is.
Nick has
why have
alluded
I
to-
not hired any women?
I don't know. So,
just got an
not that there's
idea.
anything wrong with it. So, either way, it's okay. I love you either way.
Thank you for the question.
You know,
but,
I'm glad if I finally, a lot of people were asking.
Really
If there's
hard-hitting
any-
questions
That's what
here,
goes to my
Nick.
DMs when I said,
Listen,
what do you want me to ask these guys? That
if
was
there's-
like 60% of what I got.
if there's any women out there who are
Mm-hmm.
young enough, don't have their tubes tied or anything, and they looking for a guy who works
Let
a
me
million
just-
hours a week and might have a few hours
What happened
on the
to that
weekends
little-
for a girl,
Let me
then
just-
hit me up.
What
Let me
happened to
just-
that little hot potato that we ran into during COVID? She liked you.
Okay, then why you even ask the question if you already knew
So
that?
look,
Well, I didn't know if it was a front.
don't start first dates by saying, "Hey, are your tubes tied?" That's just like the first problem.
Well,
so,
yeah, but I'm
like,
just saying that's.
any ladies out there with their tubes not tied,
yeah, I'm
just
just
let me
saying
know.
that I'm getting
Is
older.
yours-
I'm
is-
getting older.
Standards are getting lower and lower. As long as their tubes aren't
Well,
tied,
that
we're
is
good
true.
to
As
go.
you get older and you're more single, your standards have to get lower.
No, I just stay single. I just won't.
Yeah.
I just don't bother.
Imagine if that was like on like a filter on the app, like you check that off, like, well, can't have this, can't have that.
I mean, it would be nice. You can filter the
Dude,
apps.
I've been like this for a long time, but I'm like so always career oriented that I like never give myself enough time to like have a real social life, and that's like the one part of my life that I like not regret, but yeah, I guess regret or like want to improve on. But that is something. The one thing in my life for sure, like I've gotten my financial situation together. I'm okay with that. Like I've gotten my career stuff, which always was like most important for me. All of that's great. Like I've,
He just
I'm
needs a
happy with
hot
my life.
potato.
No, but I'm saying that is
He
the
needs
one
that
part.
little hot potato. Where is she?
That I don't give myself enough time, like on my free time, to figure out. Obviously, it's something I want to do, but I haven't put enough focus into it because
you on the
I
apps?
care. Rarely.
On what?
The apps, the dating apps.
Wow, you are?
No, I mean, I
What's your
have some-
handle?
No, I have some of them
have
on
a
my
handle
on a
Rip.
dating app.
Little Rip
He doesn't know
Redondo
how, he doesn't know how it works. They all come to
He
him.
doesn't even know what an iPhone
yeah.
is. Like he just uses it to make
No, I like
calls.
like on the weekends when I'm not. I'm working so much over the week. I'm playing poker a lot.
And by the
phone,
way,
I'm
you
prison-
need more than 10 million sale the way you dust off in poker. That would last you like 2 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
yeah,
Tell
on
us
the,
more
on the
about
weekends, I'm like sleeping, I'm relaxing, I'm filming podcasts with Nick Vertucci and Veronica. I'm like whatever. I might go to the beach or I might go to dinner
You
with
got
friends.
Bluffy.
Yeah, I
Is
got my
LA
dog.
hard
You got
to
his dog.
date in?
I don't think so. I mean, there's so many people out there, but there's so many ways to socialize and go out. I'm just saying, before COVID, I did go out a lot on the weekends. Like every weekend, not every weekend, but maybe every other weekend, I would like go out to bars with friends and like socialize and hang out, and it was fun. But once COVID hit and there wasn't bars really anymore, I just and then I knew our show was coming up. I've been like so focused and career oriented since then that like, I mean, obviously like I want to have a balanced life, but like crushing it on this is like makes me the most happy of anything. So I've just been like so focused on that like it's.
So
But at a certain
basically
point,
this-
I need to.
This business has been your right hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you weren't doing, I can see why they
said
get
it.
along. If you weren't doing poker, what if like Hustler doesn't exist, poker isn't in your life? What are you
Yeah.
doing right now?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just was a passion, and like I mean, before that, I was working in sports, and that was my passion. Before that was broadcasting, production, and I could have stayed at ESPN and tried to work my way up the ladder. I was working on NBA Countdown. I was a researcher there. It was a lot of fun for a while. I've loved basketball forever. I got to go to the NBA Finals, the NBA Draft, like work with really cool people. Like that was so much fun for a while. Just like I would walk into like the Cleveland or Golden State Arena for the finals with like Jalen Rose and Doug Collins and everyone saying hi to them. I remember before a Lakers game preseason, we were doing like the halftime, and we're walking off the court, and like I'm like standing in a circle with like Kobe Bryant. Like he wasn't talking to me, but I was in the circle. Like it was like me, Jalen, Doug, Sage Steele, like and Kobe Bryant, and he's like like. That stuff was like always so cool and surreal to me. I remember like after Steph Curry won his first championship, I took a picture with him, and like, like that stuff was like amazing. I'm on the court with like LeBron after he won the championship with Cleveland, and like I'm just like standing there filming him. That stuff was
filmed the greatest of all time.
LeBron or
well, I don't know. You said LeBron. Isn't he the greatest?
Well, I don't know. That's
yeah.
You probably love LeBron.
I do. I like him.
No, but yeah, that stuff was always so cool because I was such a like fanboy. I loved basketball, and now I got to work in it, right? So maybe if if nothing ever came up, and I just like stuck with that, then yeah, I could have been there forever. But it kind of wore off after a while for a few different reasons. But one was because I realized how hard it is to ever like make a ton of money in sports media. It's so hard. Like I was like, man, I could become a research manager, or I could become an NBA Countdown producer and make like $150K a year, maybe at best. Like, am I ever going to be like happy and rich and successful? I'm not saying that's not like okay money, but when you're living in LA, it's not anything special. And I'm just like, what can I do different to like get to my goals? And as I started, I think what happened was I started becoming friends with so many poker people that I'm like, wow, this is not that much money. And like, I don't even know if I could even become a producer if they even want me. I'm not going to be a researcher forever. There's no way I'm going to be happy doing that. It's fun for a few years. So I don't know, to answer your question. I mean, I think I would have probably stuck with sports media for a long time, but I think everything happens for a reason. And I don't think I would have ever reached my true peak happiness point if I didn't find poker.
Makes sense. And I only have one more question for you, and I don't know if Veronica has any more, but when you were coming up through poker and you were just getting a passion for it, do you have a poker idol, someone that you just were like, they're the nuts as far as poker, who I admire for whatever the reason?
Like as a player?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's crazy because I think Tom Dwan was that guy when I came up in poker. Like
right.
Watching him on all those shows, like I just thought he was this godly figure that was so cool. And like I was watching him when he was like 21, 22 years old on TV, and something about like how young he was, and he just
right.
looked so young.
No
and,
fear.
Like, yeah, and just no fear, and just the big pots he played and the crazy moves he made. And I was like, man, this guy is so cool, And he's so good, and he's fun to watch, and just I don't know, something about him was like godly. And as I got more into poker, I would see or meet every big name poker player. So like I met Helmuth, I met Negreanu, I saw Phil Ivey like once or twice. This is, I'm talking about a few years ago before I did the show. But Tom Dwan was the one big name player that I never had even seen in my life. He was like Bigfoot, Like, is he real? Like, I don't know. I've never seen him before. Yeah. So I never came across him. And he was always like my favorite guy when I was younger. And so when we had a chance to get him on our show, and then he actually showed up when I started texting him, and then the first day he shows up, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy. This is Tom Dwan. And now we're just like friends.
Has he changed at all as a player, in your opinion? Do you think there's anything different about him than when he was a young kid coming up, and his style and his, he seems different?
No, he's definitely different. I think that when he first came up, he was young and fearless, and he had all the money. And I think that he was so far ahead of the people he was playing with on those shows, and some of the guys he's playing with online, but mostly the people he's playing with on the shows, because those shows, at the time, we don't realize, we think they're all pros. You look back, some of those guys were pretty bad, okay?
Yeah, if you look back at high-stakes poker, the old shows, it is a different game.
Well, poker has changed. So they might have been good for that era.
That too. But also, we all sucked back then. So
we all did.
We didn't
know. We're looking at it in hindsight.
Right. But I'm saying it's easier for us as we're better at poker.
Yeah, because you evolved.
To look back and see who was actually better than who. You know what I mean? Like back then, Yeah, I don't know. You just look at some of the pros, you can kind of just figure out like who's actually good. Like, Phil Galfond was actually good, right? Like Tom Dwan was actually good, but he wasn't even that good. He was just he just knew his competition and he was ahead of them, and he knew how to crush it. He was just fearless, and he made the right moves. He also ran good in those shows, but he made the right moves at the right time, and he just made those guys guess. Like, and I think he had so much. He was peaking and had so much money at such a young age that he just became fearless. Now, keep in mind also, these poker sites were paying these guys an absurd amount per month to play, and they were paying them to play on these shows, and so that helped those guys be more fearless. Like even someone like Mike Matisow or whatever, who was playing way different back then because of the money he was getting from those sites, and it changes your mentality when you know that if you lose, you're going to get paid next month. So, but I think Tom was so far ahead of everyone. He was so young and fearless, and I think that so to answer your question, I think that that's why he was so good back then, and he knew how to exploit those guys. But I think that after the online sites went down and he moved to Macau and started playing, something happened there. I think he started playing massive games. I think that he went on, from what I understand or what I could figure out, like he went on like whether it was his money or he staked or whatever, who knows, but he went on like a massive downswing at some point, and I think that messed with him. And I think after that, as anyone who's smart gets older, they're going to evolve and realize, well, I can't afford to do this anymore. This isn't working. Like, I need to figure out a way to just be smarter. And I think after a while, he realized his image is his image from back in the day, and especially with those Chinese guys, I assume, he doesn't need to be crazy anymore. He can just have it and get paid, and just like he's already in the games, right? So once you're in the games, you can capitalize on your image because it's going to take a while for those people to catch up and change their game, right? Like you got to be one step ahead, and I think that's what he realized after a while. And so now I think as he got older, it seems to me like he knows that people are always going to think he's bluffing, so he doesn't need to bluff as much anymore, right? Yeah. And now he just kind of like has it and gets paid, and but he's still kind of like. I feel like he's not that guy that ever really like studied like some of these new age pros. Yeah. He just kind of is a field player, figured it out. He's a live player. Yeah. I think that he wouldn't do well online these days at all, but he does well in soft games. I think he's really good these days, not so much back in the day, but really good these days at socializing and being fun and friendly with all of like the fun players. I actually think his personality these days is awesome. Like I think he's like super like down to earth, and which I find really cool just hearing him interact and talk with these guys, and he smiles, and unless he's like tired or something, he's like smiles and has fun and really enjoys the moment. And I think that he just likes playing a lot of hands, and I think that he isn't as good as these really good pros these days at all. Yeah. But
it's all fun and games until someone loses a bankroll.
Right. I think that he's just more conscious of money these days. Yeah. And he just doesn't want the variance that he had. Like his variance back in the day must have been absurd.
Sick, yeah.
But I think these days he realizes like I can't afford to do that. Like I'm 35 or however old he is. Like I have to actually like capitalize on my old image and just like grind it out. And
it was an interesting topic. I was wondering what you thought of it because it's evolved so differently.
I still think he's really good.
Yeah.
But I personally, like I would play with him.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Yeah, like I
understand what you're saying.
I think he reminds me of like Andy, like he is good. He's smart. He's really good, but he's not like this super balanced GTO player. He's like exploitative. He's going to get beat up by the really, really sick GTO players, but he's going to be like really fun and like profitable in like the fun, juicy lineups.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of like what Tom is.
Totally. Yeah, interesting.
So again, I know you've talked to us about the secret sauce, and I feel like some of that has to do with your player pool.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with the players that we have. Like we have a really special group of like really cool people. We have fun action players, but we also have just really good people with great personalities who like understand it's a show and they want to be a part of something special, and they've been really loyal. And I think me and Nick are really lucky to have these people involved because they're as much to do with our success as anyone, right? Like look at some of like the core people we have, Nick. Like we have these guys that have played like so many shows since we started. Like look at guys like, Ronnie, Wesley, Barry, Who else?
Arby, Jeremy, Francisco.
Yeah, Jeremy.
I mean,
those
Patrick,
guys. Patrick, Eli,
Mike X.
Yeah, Mike X. Now, like, there's so many. Big John.
Oh my God, Santa.
Yeah, like those guys are there every week,
Yeah.
and they just
Johnny.
love playing. And look, these guys could go play on other shows. They could play other places, other casinos, whatever. But no, they're loyal. Like they just play with us because they understand how cool and how special our show is and our group of people. And like we talked about before, like we'll just be talking in a group text with them randomly about something not related to poker or joke around or something. And like, we just are lucky that we have like a really cool group of people that actually, you know, they're not high maintenance. They don't ask for anything. They just come and they want to play poker, and they'll play on Monday, Tuesday, Saturday,
sounds very
whatever.
Family-like.
You mentioned this earlier, Ryan. I mean, this we cultivated this, but organically. And you know, during COVID, we were playing online, and we would play online every single day with these names we just mentioned, and we would talk and text in the thing and do the voice thing and play hands. And then we got together when the casinos still weren't like down to be open. We would play together in our own games. And the truth of the matter is, and I mean this, there's nothing I've said on this show that I've meant more than this, is I know this is how you feel about it and how I feel about it. These people legitimately are my friends. I consider them my friends, a form of a fun family in poker family. Like when I come to play or come to the casino, I am legitimately, the names we just mentioned, I'm legitimately looking forward to seeing them, to talking with them. And I know you feel this way too. I legitimately care about them. Like I want everyone to have fun, and you know, of course, we're all businessmen, and these guys all have money. No one's in there on their last buy-in. But I really do. I want them all to be like, okay, and like who win this week, whatever, and just move it around, because like these are good people that even after this is over, I hope that most of the names we mentioned remain friends. And so they know that. They feel that. They know that we give a shit about them. They know that when we tell them something, we mean it and we're going to do it. So that's the difference between, like, when I think the question was asked earlier, like, but why us? Why will, you know, and you're right. Like at the beginning, when we're putting all this sweat equity and money into it, you're like, God, I just hope this meshes. But it was so clear and obvious, and it just happened.
Yeah.
You know?
I think like when you're like actually friends with people and you're good people and you have a good relationship with them, like, you have no problem contributing to your friend's business, right? Like they know they just want to play poker, right? But they also know that they're coming to contribute to our show and help our business, and that they actually like us, right?
Supports
like they're
us.
not asking for something; they're just asking for us to like let them play. Like if you have a friend who opens a restaurant and you like the food, you're going to go support that restaurant and eat the food there instead of eating the food somewhere else, because you like you're friends with the person, you're supporting the business, and you like the product, right? And you're going to hang out there all the time. And so that's kind of like how it is. I remember just thinking back on some cool things. Like I remember when I first left Live the Bike and people started hearing about it. And I just remember a few of those guys, like I remember vividly, like Israeli Ron, Jeremy, Dennis, like they would all come up to me like and be like, hey, I got your back. Like wherever you go, if you do a show somewhere else, like I'm with you. Like I'll be there. And there was a bunch of those guys that said that before the pandemic, during the pandemic. And that was like a really cool thing for me when I was going through that, where I was leaving there and taking this big risk. And me and you had first started talking about like meeting with other casinos and all of that. Yeah. And I'm like, that's where I was like, I have the confidence that we're going to crush it, because we know that like we have, and you had been already friends with like a lot of these guys too from playing the Tuesday, Friday games. Yeah. Like we have a lot of these players I just know they're going to follow us, and because they like us as people, and they know that we're doing this from like a pure perspective. There's no like ulterior motive. We're just trying to like build a family and have fun games. So I thought that was really cool when they all kind of came up to us and were like, we're going to follow you. We got your back. Like we're there no matter what. And I think the loyalty and the friendship of this group and the camaraderie, and like they're not just friends with us, they're all friends with each other. Like they love hanging out. The best example of that is like when we do Saturday games sometimes. Yeah. And like those guys just show up and we order food. Like it's awesome. Like they all just want to hang out and nobody's like upset that this person beat them in a hand or this one played a hand like this or whatever. Like they just love being in the social environment, a bunch of guys together.
This year's party that we should have at my house again, because I think it played well, right?
Yeah.
Don't you? I think it's going to be sick, because it's even going to be better this time, because now we're into it a year. We got all these other players that I know, that weren't with us even when we had that will be there, and I think it's going to be sick, and I'm looking forward to it.
If I ever, hopefully,
maybe I'll cook again too.
Knock on wood, but if I ever get married, which I better at some point once I have time to.
It's legal here.
Do that, yeah. Shut up.
What?
You're such a dick.
Oh, anyways.
No, but it's going to be hard. You're such a dick. It's going to be hard to like, a lot of these guys are like actual friends. So it's one of those things where it's going to be hard to like, be like, man, like who do I actually invite? Like there's going to be so many people where I'm like,
Just
I like these
Hustler.
guys. These guys are fun.
I know.
Just
Do
live
it.
stream
Let's
your
marry you
marriage.
at Hustler right on the stage, right under the crown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a kind
Why
of like
not?
a
You can
gazebo.
officiate.
Yeah, I'll officiate.
It does look like a wedding thing.
I got to gift the
Yeah.
gab. I can
And
walk
then
us through this.
we'll run a 25-50 right after.
Yeah, and then we'll bust out into 3 games.
Could you
Must
imagine
moves.
if like,
Yeah.
like what?
Two
like
must
the
moves in the
dance
main
floor
game.
and everyone's playing poker. Like the tables are actual.
We have
That's
to
such
draw-
a great
we have to
idea.
draw for the main
You know how
game.
like they'll make like the things on the table and like design.
We'll put it on a
they'll all be actual poker tables. Like every single table
with names of where you're seated,
Yeah.
but not to eat, but to play.
Yeah.
You guys
would
want
be
the chicken or the beef? Hurry up and eat, because we're dropping in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, chips. We got Louis there, like walking around. It's Louis Tito getting
Yeah, he's
chips.
in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Oh my
God,
God.
that would be amazing.
Hey, maybe.
Band performing on the stage while
That's
they're all
it.
playing.
I love it.
It'd be like it's like a multi-table tournament, and then you make it to the feature table, to the wedding table for the final table, and then the prize is you get cake smashed in your face or something. I don't know.
You're up in the control booth making sure everything's going
Yeah,
well.
somehow I got married, but yet Nick's like, you
You're
got to go
working.
upstairs and
You're
produce.
working.
Yeah, right.
You're working.
Who's
I'm
on
shaking
camera?
hands and kissing babies
Yeah.
downstairs, playing in all the soft games. Yeah, I got it. Too funny.
Yeah.
Too
But
funny.
no, it is cool. Like the players that we have, we're really lucky to have these
Agreed.
people involved. Like they're as big of a part of this as anyone.
Yeah. Okay. Val,
I think we've
think we wrapped it.
we got a lot out of you.
Well, little Rip, you answered a lot of questions. Appreciate it. This is probably our longest show ever. We're over 2 hours,
and it
but we
was
needed it.
so interesting.
Should we take a break and go another 2 hours? Or?
No.
Yeah. I'm down for another 2 hours. I think
Yeah.
the viewers are really going to enjoy this.
Yeah, because some people have heard bits and pieces of this from other podcasts, different things, but now our following is following us and following this, and I think that just like Veronica said, I believe that they are going to be really interested in all these components, all the way from when we started this conversation and the building blocks to where we are now. So a lot of the people that go on to the comments are just like thrilled that we're kind of unveiling like the back end of like the players and all the shit we're doing and the questions they have that no one really knows the answer. And I think it's funner and more entertaining for someone to watch and really know the backstory and know the players and know that. So thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I will say that we are going to have some like big things coming. I have an idea for something big that we want to do soon that you don't even know about. So we're going to talk about that after the show. But
I love it. Yeah, you said we had to have a little talk after the show. We have to catch up.
Big things coming soon.
Yeah,
Can you give us a hint?
Is that
at
something
least?
Valerie is going to be in
No,
on,
I
or
just-
is it
it's
just
an-
me and you in the corner?
no, I'm just talking about like our next big thing that I want.
I know what you're
that I
talking
want to do
about.
on the show. And
Give us a hint.
All right,
Give
sorry.
us a hint.
I'll just say like it's an idea that we're going to discuss of something big that we'll do on the show that has never been done in poker before.
Okay.
And because how do you top the Mr. Beast game? How do you top this 16-hour show with all these 500K pots? Well, we're just going to keep figuring out ways to top it. And
Totally.
And that's like, that's the fun of this. And
Kim Kardashian's coming to play on a Friday.
that won't top what we just did.
That'll bottom it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, before this goes too far downhill, this is the Nick Vertucci Show. We are here with Little Rip Ryan Feldman and Valerie, a.k.a. Veronica Brill. I am Nick Vertucci. This is the Nick Vertucci Show, and Envy out.